Tell the truth.
Welcome to the Information Man Speaks Pod. Welcome to the Information Man Show.
Tell the truth.
Information is power. Information is power.
Tell the truth. Tell the truth. Tell the truth.
What's up, everybody? What's up? Thank you for your patience. I know people have been waiting to hear the show, waiting to hear what we're going to be talking about. We know it's about reparations. That is the issue at hand. We're in California, and I'm going to say this and say it with conviction. I believe that, or not believe, but it's a fact. I think California is leading the way in this particular issue around reparations. We're leading the way because California is laying out the blueprint which other states can utilize in their fight. Now, the last time we did a reparations show, a lot of people out there in social media out there get sort of in their feelings about Black Americans, Black people who are born here in America, who have a lineage to those cotton fields, a lineage to the South, a lineage to this land, building this country. If it was not for Black people who were born in this country, who come of ancestors that built this country, America got its economic fuel from our ancestors. Never paid us a dime. Everyone else, they got paid. Other groups have gotten paid, and I'm going to show you sliders today to show you the various acts in which other groups got paid. So for anybody out there saying, well, y'all need to just give it up, y'all never gonna, those same groups kept still to their struggle and got what was due to them. So this conversation today will be educational. It will be based in conviction and purpose. You will get information that will enlighten you, but not only that, it will correct some of the nonsense in which people have been talking about this issue and do not know what they're talking about. In California, and I'm going to say it again, in California, in particular, we had to make, and those that have been working hard in this struggle, like CJEC and many others out here in California, the laws in California say that you have to make any reparations claim based in lineage, like other groups have. So Japanese who got money for what happened to their ancestors, or those who got affected directly, they had to make it lineage based. You can't make it this blank statement of Black people. So for those of you out there that are getting bunched in your feelings about you guys and are not, what about the rest of the diaspora of the world? What about people who come here from Africa and people who come here from the Caribbean who've had some wrong done to them? You know what? You got something called CARECOM. Last time I checked, I don't remember that organization including Black people here in this hemisphere in that reparations claim, that people that come from the Caribbean or even Africans in the continent of Africa, like in South Africa, where they're fighting to get land back that was taken from them by the Dutch, the Europeans, and the fight against Great Britain and what Great Britain did to them. I don't see Black Americans getting ourselves involved in that and telling you what you need to do. But it seems that the minute that Black people in America decide to say, you know what, we're going to define ourselves as a group like everybody else does in this country. And the minute we do that, everybody gets caught up in their feelings. Why? And so that's how it is in California. It has to be lineage based, which makes a hell of a lot of sense. Now, I'm going to tell you right now before I bring the guest on, we got to get away from this people of color crap, because that's a trick bag. Once you start using those type of terms, now you invite everybody into your struggle is when they haven't even struggled on your terms. They have not struggled and felt the pain of your struggle. They have not felt the pain of your ancestors. Now, let me say this too. To our brothers and sisters out there that are from the Caribbean or parts of Africa, because it's a large continent, of course, different countries in Africa. If it was not for Black people who have lineage here in this country that are born, who fought through the civil rights movement, who fought through revolutionary movements like the Black Panther Party to make these streets and make these laws possible, which you benefit from, you would have never been able to come to this country in the first place. It was our ancestors who involved themselves in the immigration movement in this country. They made it possible for a lot of people to come over here during the 1960s. And I'm getting very tired of people who just got here, Johnny come lately, when Black people been here over 400 years or more. And of course, I say respect to those Black people who identify themselves as Native. I've got Native heritage. I can actually make claim to mine because I got paperwork on it. Oh, we talk about freemen. Guess what? My ancestor is a legitimate freeman. I can make claims on that too. See, Black people in America born here, we have a very rich history. So you got to be respectful when you come here, Johnny come lately, and you begin telling, and I see this on YouTube where you have people who don't even have the generations that we have in skin in the game in this country, telling Black Americans who are lineage to this country, telling us what we should do. Oh, you shouldn't do this. Oh, you guys are not doing this. Talking about we don't take advantage of education. The fact that you're getting education yourself because our ancestors fought for the laws to change, for your butt to be able to even go to these universities, like our university, historical university, HBCs. And so that's the lack of respect that we find ourselves in. And then when we have this reparation movement in California, now we got the haters coming out trying to tell us what to do again. And that, oh, y'all not going to get this and that. If we thought like that, just think if black people in slavery, if there were black people who said, we ain't never going to be free, we ain't never going to do this, don't try to go to the underground railroad, don't try to escape to the north. If we had black people who just sat around and did not try to fight for what was right for themselves and collectively, so we would still be in shackle slavery. And the Negroes that run around today criticizing black people who are fighting for reparations, you would have been them same Toms on the plantation telling us not to go north, not to get away. You would have been the same ones. I think Malcolm X had a turn for it. You had field Negroes and you had house Negroes. And the field Negroes would pray for a storm of fire to burn the master's house down, where the house Negro would pray for rain to keep the master's house looking prestige and not him die. Okay. Or when the master would sneeze, he would say, "We sick, boss." That mentality. Well, we still got those type of black folks running around here today. And we get these folks who also have only been here for a minute telling us what we should do. Man, you wouldn't be over here in the first place if it had not been for our ancestors. So I end with that to paint a framework that people need to understand that this is why in California, the lineage base is the right way to go. It is the law in California. And that's the reason why, for anybody that says, why you excluded us? That's the law in California. We can't certainly jump into Native Americans' claims, Japanese people's claims, or anybody else's claim. What does that look like? It looks silly. So today we're going to give you some more clarification about what's happening in California and how this can benefit black people across this country who are lineage, and how you need to employ the same tactics in your state. I'm also going to show you a clip of the haterism that we got out here. You know, they tell us about this brown and black coalition. Oh, black and brown coalition. You've got even Biden, Joe Biden himself, who got caught up in that video where he told black folks, oh, they're the growing group. You better acquiesce to them. The Latino or the Hispanic or the Latinx population, La Raza population. And he tried to tell black people, talking down to black people, and all those black leaders in there let him talk down and didn't do a damn thing about it. That's Joe Biden, the man who said that if you don't vote for him, you're not black enough. Just ridiculous. Let me show you this video that will start the presentation of our show today as I bring the guests on. This video is very important. It needs to be seen. I had mentioned to my guests about this video. And I see we got Freeman coming in, but I want to show you all this video just to get us started, to get our juices flowing. And here we go. This is from the Cholo podcast, American Cholo podcast.
I want to believe that. You better turn your TV, brother. You better turn your radio back.
So what do you think about these Black Lives Matter that they want to be paid for being slaves and all that?
Reparations.
Yeah, there it is.
Well, I heard they passed in North Carolina.
Yes.
What?
It was a small little town in North Carolina that passed reparations for whoever's over there. I'm sure they'll try to do something out here in California. I think they already actually got a little board going that they're going to start looking into it. So
yeah, and that's when we, the Raza, need to step up, protest, and I'm talking major, and turn around and tell them, no, nobody getting reparations until the Native Americans and the Mexicans get ours first. We've been going through this crap a lot longer, so I don't want to hear it. Because it's not fair, dog. How are you going to give a bunch of money to to a specific group, dog. This is the United States, a melting pot. How are you going to give it to a specific group?
Because right now they've got the white people with so much guilt. It was your
Okay. Let me say peace and love to the real Dana. Dana, I just dropped the link in the chat room. If you want to come on to the panel, would love to have you because I know you're very learned in this particular issue that we're talking about, and we will do a show together too, Dana. And let me say peace to a lady 747. Ivan Fernando's rocking with us today. We got the BS3 Network. By the way, you are listening to us by way of BS3 Network as well. So if you got Roku TV, you can hear us there.
You are now tuned to BS3 Network. BS3 Network is now on Roku TV under BS3 TV. Download today.
So you can catch this show. We're live right now on Roku TV. If you're watching at home and you want to watch on your TV, we got Golden Melanin. We got Tori Brain Games is in the house. We've got Life Magical Journey, Miss Wanda. We got a lot of great people in the chat room. I'll be putting up your thoughts. We got Deborah Guns, Shauna, U.S. Freeman. We got a lot of great people in here. So let me bring the guest on right now and get their thoughts about the video that we just witnessed and what you just I got that off of Twitter, and they have a podcast. They call themselves the Cholo, American Cholo podcast, if I have that correct. And they're heavy into the La Raza, which I know what that's about, being in college, living here in California. I have an understanding of what that movement is about, but they're talking about that they should give black people in California pushback. And they're talking about what black people are doing in other states as it relates to the reparations issue. Let me give you all a clap for being here. First of all, let me go with the ladies first. Of course, let's go with Miss Kim for being here. She's been heavy involved in what's happening in Sacramento, California, in terms of reparation. Thank you for being here, my sister. Let me give a clap to Sister Friday Jones, heavily involved in the reparations movement. Okay, let me, Brother Umoria of the media group, give him a great. He's been now the people that I've got on this platform, folks. To all respect to them, they have ground foot level involvement in the reparations movement in California. Okay, they have foot to ground. Okay, now let me introduce, you all know him. He's been on the show before, and that's Brother Freeman Media out of Michigan, California. And then somebody who's popped in, who is a dear brother to me, and that's Brother Lions Den. We've been broadcasting and talking about these various issues for years, and we got my man Lions Den, a.k.a. Trey. And let me say once more again, if the real Dana is in the house still, you can hit the link and come on upstairs and join us in this discussion, as well as we will do a show together. And I got to get Joe Brown on. I know I've been slipping. I'll be in contact with you. We got to get Joe Brown on sooner than later. All right, let's get to the panel. And first of all, what is everybody's opinions to start the show off and get our juices flowing about the video, and everybody in the chat room as well? What are your thoughts about that? Anybody that'd like to tackle their thoughts?
I mean, I'll just say that I don't see very much unity with the La Raza coalition there. And then he also made another statement about this being a melting pot. And like you said earlier in your intro, it wouldn't be a melting pot if our ancestors hadn't paved the way for them. So they don't even realize that when they spew this vitriol.
Right. And let me add this too, sister. A lot of these groups, look, everybody has the right to be proud of their race, their group, their lineage. But every time, I'm going to say it again, you all know this, every time black people want to stand up for something that matters, everybody's got a problem with us. They don't have a problem with our music. They love to dance to our music, eat our food, right? They like to engage in stereotypical behavior that they think is black. And then when we now put our brains together and say, no, let's do something that's not based in foolishness, now everybody's got a problem with us. But if we shaking our booties Soul Train style, nobody's got a problem with that. They'll even join in with us. I'll stop there. Right. Let me unmute some folks. I think some folks are muted. Okay.
There we go.
Sister Friday Jones, glad to have you here. What are your thoughts as I opened up the show with that video?
Glad to be here, Infoman. So look, let's have a real conversation. We are clear that California was part of Mexico until the Mexican War, right? We understand that. Geographically, we come with that understanding. However, he said a couple of things. One, he understood there was a level of specificity that was required. So that actually is fairly informed. But he asked the question, the last speaker, how can you have legislation just for a specific group of people? It happens every day here. So I don't know why there's this expectation that it should not happen for us. And in terms of indigenous cultures and indigenous land, and I have genealogy and history and family ties to the Shinnecock Nation on my father's side, but the Bureau of Indian Affairs has literally been here since 1776, since the founding and formation of this country. That is not something that the descendant population and community have. The Freedmen's Bureau was vetoed by President Johnson. It was very short-lived. It lived under the War Department, as did the Department of Indian Affairs. It started out under the War Department, and then it moved to land resource, our land, resource department. And so you take that in, and if anybody listened to the hearing that was just had, I think on Thursday, with the 5 so-called civilized tribes that had to come to Congress and talk about their treatment of freedmen populations that were left with them after the Civil War, some of the freedmen populations in those tribes have full citizenship, and some do not. So this idea that we somehow have to mix things up when we have sovereign nations that are indigenous nations that are governing how they see fit, he's out of line. He's completely out of line in his assessment. And so if there is or was some thought that California state in particular somehow owed the Chicano, the La Raza comes from the Chicanos in the 1970s, but it was also Hispanics and Latinos in the 1970s that were categorized as white and were pushing to be a minority just so they could tap into minority benefits. So if we're gonna have a conversation, let's have the full-fledged conversation, not some us first. You have not even advocated for yourself first. The fact is, there are grassroots advocates like the Coalition for a Just and Equitable California, like ETM Media, who's here with Umoya and Kim today, representing ETM Media, with me coming from the National Assembly of American Slavery Descendants, Los Angeles. We advocated. So get your advocacy up before you start talking about you got to raise up and you got to be in protest and you got to turn out numbers because you're out of order, completely out of order.
Facts. Brother Umoya of ETM Media Group, what is we've seen that you've seen this stuff where people sort of get all caught up in their emotions when it comes to what black people do. What are your thoughts about the video that I opened up the show with?
Well, first of all, bro, thanks for having us on. Appreciate you. Your platform is fire as heck. That intro was bomb, bro.
Oh, thank you.
Like bobbing my head like, oh, damn. That was a bomb, bro. Well, first of all, let's get something just straight off the bat. Native American tribes was heavily involved in the slave trade. So that's straight facts. So basically, the Native Americans, once we get our reparations from the U.S. government and state government, we're going to get our reparations. We're going to have a little powwow with our fellow Native American brothers and sisters as well. Because it's documented that they had, owned black people as slaves, right?
Am I correct or not? Because I remember there was an article that came out some time back that said that because a lot of black people like to identify themselves with Cherokee, but we find out that Cherokee Indians were actually very aggressive at holding black people as slaves. And you know why I know this is facts, my brother? Because when my mother did some research on our family, we found out that one of my ancestors, who actually was a freeman, was captured by a Native American tribe and made a slave in their tribe. So our history, I'm just using my example, but there's many other examples. Our history goes deep with this, and black people, we have a lot of different stories to tell. And this is the problem. And I don't want to be disrespectful here, but this is the problem when some of our immigrant brothers and sisters, they just don't understand or know our history when they come over here and sometimes will say, what's wrong with black Americans? Why are you not taking advantage of this and that? But see, they fail to understand that although they may want to see us as all one big black person, they actually distinguishedly see black people here in America. They see us different than they see even black people who come from other parts of the world. When they come to this country, they still see black Americans different. And I think that's the area that people fail to understand, because we go so far back in this country, way back. Let me bring in, with all respect, Brother Freeman Media, and get his thoughts. Go right ahead, brother.
Good afternoon, family. I appreciate you, brother, once again bringing me onto the panel. I'm going to be real short, just opening up. I'm tired of it. I'm tired of anybody talking about what's owed to us. And as we had a great discussion last night with Be the Power and in a Twitter space, and I committed myself to not going back into Twitter spaces that are not healthy for us, that are not productive to us, as I won't be discussing people like this. I mean, when we start talking about people that we know are already getting resources, are already subsidized by the government, but they have something negative to say to the debt, the greatest debt in human captivity, I have a problem with that. And I'm not really answering to a lot of this anymore. What I will be doing is I will be calling ICE. I know I'll be calling ICE in the future, because what I'm seeing is they're not looking to work with us collectively. So I do know that they're over here taking jobs from us. I know that they're over here taking resources from us. So, my portion or my contribution to population control would be to make sure that American freedmen get the resources and get the jobs and things that are available, and not illegals and not people that come in here and don't get in line, because it's very disrespectful. I had seen a bit of that clip before, and like I said, I can't deal with people who washed up on the shores of America. We gave these people flip-flops, we gave them a place to stay, then we started giving them resources. Now they think they're better than us. And I just have a problem with it. And I'm not going for it, not buying it. I'm closing myself off from any of that type of behavior. But I'll land there, and I'm done with them, because I just see that they're not working with us. Even when the people that are supposed to be advocating for us advocate for them, you still gonna kick us in the ass, because the CBC advocates for them, the NAACP advocates for them, American politics advocates for them. But as soon as we start getting together and talking about presenting our case to the United States government, they don't think we should get anything. Okay, right. We're good.
Well, let me say this, if I could. I'm gonna say it. Certainly there are, and let me say peace to Poppy, who's in the house. Thank you, my brother. Certainly there are, let's say, black folks who come from the diaspora of the world, who come over here and have shown us some respect, and they have a understanding. And then, of course, there are those that don't, right? And then there are other racial groups who will hate on us. We see it in our workplace. Man, I could tell you thousands of stories how certain groups kind of work together in unison. They'll lie for each other. They'll get the job application for each other. They'll throw your butt down the bus. If you come to work late or you do something that's kind of questionable, they'll be the first to tell someone what you did, but they'll lie for their own people. And I always say to myself, why can't black people, why can't we sort of have the same code of conduct and behavior where we'll check for each other in a way to protect one another and get out of this hate, self, and kind mentality. Because I'm going to tell you, it's not only people who come from other parts of the world who may disagree with our reparations claim, but we've got black people born here in America, look just like us, who will play this sort of game, all right, and try to undermine us as well. And I think that's one of our biggest obstacles, is that we have people who look like us who are trying to undermine the movement. And we got to stop that at all costs and keep our eyes on that main prize, which is the goal of reparations. And I'm going to say this too, and I know people don't like this. For me personally, reparations cannot be a reality if you're not a person that understands how politics work. I think Fred Hampton said in Chicago, before they slain that man, the police in Chicago, that black people need a political education. So you can't, on one hand, say, yeah, we need to get those reparations and give us those tangibles, but you can't, on the one hand, say that and not understand how politics work. This is a political country. We need to understand how to manipulate the political game in this country. And that doesn't mean that we go bow down to the Democratic Party either, because I've got a few choice words for the Democratic, or what I call the Democrats. And of course, you got the Republican clan. Let me go over to Lions Den, aka Trey X, brother. Come on board and let us know what your thoughts are on what's happening. Let me bring somebody else in that I just noticed. And there he is, Devin Locken, who's with us. Thank you, brother. Thank you for being here. We'll get to you very soon on this issue. Lions Den, speak your piece, brother.
Well, hello, everyone, and thank you, Info, for inviting me to the platform as well. I basically known American Freeman. I've always been his platform. I respect the ETN network as well. But as far as you're talking about what the Latino La Raza podcast was saying about us, you know, a lot of people don't know this, but rapper Tiger, who said "I caramba," but Tiger was forced to apologize for it. They claim that he was cultural appropriating on them. So it's really funny that they want to bring us about our culture in that situation. We've been here for way longer than anybody else who've been here as freedmen. So when we talk about this, it's time for us to really distance ourselves and focus on more of ourselves than anybody else, because they trying to claim they're really mad because we are fighting for reparations, and they try to want us to bring the black and brown coalition, which there is no black and brown coalition. Well, there was no black and brown coalition, but they want to bring us into to our level, and that's not going to happen. But at the end of the day, and I'm gonna land here, that we as freedmen need to still fight. And I'm very proud of the state of California for passing that reparations, because we've been fighting for that for years. I'm very proud of it, because we've been always talk about it on Clubhouse.
Tell the truth.
And Twitter space. So I'm very proud of the state of California for did what it did. But this is not just about California, it's everywhere else. We still need to still fighting to put reparations on the country, on the United States as a whole. And we don't need no study, because you didn't need no study on anybody else. Let's just focus for other countries that want to pass this reparations for American freedmen.
Right. Well, let me say this to you too. And I'm going to have Sister Friday Jones, Miss Kim of ETM Media, Ammonia. I'm going to have them speak to the politics, because what people don't understand is what's happening in California could not happen unless black people here in the state that are involved, as these incredible people are on this panel, if you had not had an understanding of how politics work. How does the local government, they always told us that all government is local first before you get to the federal government. You have to be ingratiated into your local government.
Yep.
And this would have never been possible had it not been for black people understanding how politics works in the state of California and staying steadfast to that. Let me bring in, before I have our guests open up about the Senate Bill 189, all the various things that are going on that we may not be aware of. Let me bring in Brother Devin Lockett and get his point of view, brother. Go right ahead.
Brother, this country would not have been built without the blood, sweat, and tears of Black Americans. And I don't even want to call us African Americans, because that's trying to identify us with the continent of Africa, when many of us, if not most of us, were here before the European even stepped foot on these shores. And yes, we were held captive. We were held captive by many of the so-called civilized tribes of Native Americans or Indians, and we were obviously held captive by the European immigrants. And yeah, people seem to have no problem co-opting our culture when it benefits them. But when we finally start to speak up in defense of our own interests, right, everybody has a problem. You know, the reparations is, in my opinion, should be a constant ask. And when we achieve and when we accomplish the beginning steps of actually attaining reparations, it should be an ask even beyond that. You know, it should be an ask. And let me tell you something, man, on the immigration tip, all immigration hurts all of us. And that goes for legal as well as illegal immigration, all immigration. Because these people come here, and I know what I'm saying is going to sound very xenophobic, but I don't care. Most of these people come here after having watched American television in their own home countries for many years before they get here. And their idea of American society is what they watch on TV. And they come here with the idea of stepping up the ladder, the social ladder in American society, firstly, by putting their foot on the neck of the Black American man or Black American people. And that's what we see with all of these, stores selling weaves and alcohol and crack pipes and all the rest of this in our neighborhood. They come here specifically with that idea that there's an American totem pole and the Black man is on the bottom, and that they're going to somehow come here and position themselves between the Black man and white society. And I'm sick of it. It's not, you're coming here into our country and you're not paying respect to the people who were here when you got here.
Right.
And I take issue with that. I've traveled I've worked in over 50 countries, and everywhere I go, I honor the people when I get there. I respect them when I get there. And I represent myself and my country well.
Right. And if any of us travel to another country, we should be respectful of what people are doing. It's like, for example, I have respect for my Caribbean and my African brothers and sisters. If I see that they're fighting for their reparations from Great Britain, the UK, or the Dutch, I'm not going to go over there and try to tell them about their business.
No.
That's like me going to South Africa and telling Black folks in South Africa, well, y'all don't really need to fight for that land. Why y'all fighting for that land? It's been so many years. Get over it. Because you know how people talk to us in America. Y'all need to get over it. It happened years ago. Now, what would I sound like telling someone over there that they need to not worry about the land that was stolen from their ancestors from years ago when they got, you know what's different about us, other countries and us in America? Some people can find the lineage through the names. They can go back. So you're looking at a guy who's got your land, who's got a name that goes all the way back to when they took the land from your ancestor. So you're looking at a direct descendant who's got your land that's been stolen. Now, what would I look like going over there telling folks like that? Y'all forget about that. They'll look at me like I'm crazy. Kick me out of the back door.
If I can't help you with your struggle, I'm going to shut up and step aside.
Right. I just think it's not about hating on other Black people in the diaspora or other people, period. It's about just being respectful of what people are trying to do. But I think it always starts with being educated. So let's move forward. And I like to ask ETM Media, all the guests that are on, give us some updates, brother Moya. Give us some updates as to what's happening in California with the reparations movement, from them deciding that they were going to go with it being a lineage based, that was passed, that it have to be lineage based. And everybody, some people were not excited about that felt they got stiffed out of it. And there were people who were very excited about that the distinction has been made. So what's the updates now?
Well, I can definitely let Kim and Friday also chime in on this.
Yes, I want them both to chime in. Yes.
But currently, as far as the eligibility is required. I mean, it's still been the same since the task force made the ruling that currently the eligibility proposal is that it's based on a Black African American who's a descendant of U.S. chattel slavery. So if you don't fall within that paradigm, and I think there's a caveat, and Friday and Kim, you could also elaborate on this. It might be something about like including like with free people below or in between or before the 1900 like census or something like that. But
yes,
Kim and Friday can confirm. But yeah,
okay.
Currently, yes, it's descendants of U.S. chattel slaves.
Okay, so you see I have on the board here, and you're familiar with this already, comes right off your site. California is now the first state to collect data specifically for African-American descendants of persons enslaved in the United States, starting with the state employees. So now I definitely want some folks to explain that to people. So we're talking about state employees in California. Go right ahead, Sister Kim.
Yeah, so SB 189, that is the law now. It is law, signed into law, that the state of California will be collecting disaggregated data, as you said, to collect data on freedmen, a new classification in California. It's a status that was given to us after emancipation during Reconstruction. And that's why you hear about the Freedmen's Bureau, the Freedmen's Bank, all of those things after emancipation that were relatively short-lived. So we're looking to revive that, and the state of California has taken the first steps. And yeah, so it's happening. We are the first state to have this Freedmen classification revived. So something to look for.
Can Miss Jones, can you elaborate on what Kim was saying in terms of what does that mean when we talk about freeman? What is a freeman? Because some people may not even know what a freeman is, you know? Oh, you're muted. Unmute your mic, sister. So people can hear.
On and off with the mics. I'm so sorry.
It's okay. It's okay. We need to hear you though. We need to hear you. Go ahead.
Yes, the Freedmen Bureau was established by an actual act. So there was legislation back during Reconstruction that actually put forth a Freedmen's Bureau. That department, like I said, was housed in the War Department, and it was intended to assist refugees after emancipation, because all of a sudden you had all these people some of who didn't have anywhere to go, didn't have resources, and from the Freedmen's Bureau came the Freedmen's Hospital, came the Freedmen's Bank eventually. And the Freedmen's Bank, a lot of people don't even understand this, but the Freedmen's Bank basically was funded by Black Union soldiers, Negro soldiers who served for the Union. And the only investments that bank was allowed to make was in treasury bills for the United States and for white-owned businesses that the board, which was all white up until Frederick Douglass was put in there as a last Hail Mary, as the bank was already failing. But they had to invest in early white businesses that were approved by their board of directors. So it's not just our slave labor that helped to build this country. It's also our economic value. And that bank the Freedmen's Bank was closed down, and it had $2.6 million worth of deposits at the time, which in today's money, I think is about $85 million. 2.6 million
wow.
back that bank defaulted on, was not FDIC insured. Those Union soldiers thought that money was insured, and it was not. And so the significance, let me tie it back to what Kim was talking about, the significance of having freedmen language. This country, since the Civil War, has never stopped to assess what happened to the American freedmen. No one ever stopped to see, what our health records were doing. If we were othered, if you weren't white, you were Black. Chinese people even had the option to be white or Black. Like, that's how ridiculous this country was. And in terms of data collection, this is the first time that it's happening. There are as many California state employees as there are Black folks in this state. It's about 2.3 to 2.6 million people that this information is going to be recorded on, and it's going to be shared with the federal government. So for the first time in America's history, they actually will have data that's specific to the descendant community and the freedmen community. That is huge. We've been called colored, mulatto, octoroons, Negro, you name it, almost, we've been called it. And this is the first time where there is an aggregation of data that is specific to who we are. And it is an amazing feat. And I'm so glad that the three of us were able to work on that legislation through CJEC.
Okay. Now, Sister Kim, can you explain, because there's people who may not be aware of CJEC, can you give people a good breakdown of what the organization is about? Just as a reminder, so there's some people who are here that have never heard about this organization in California. If they're not from California, go right ahead.
Okay. CJEC is the Coalition for a Just and Equitable California. And this organization was basically born just to fight for reparations and political advocacy. So CJEC is comprised of different groups, different advocacy groups, ETM Media being one of them, and also NAASD LA that Friday is involved with. We also have ARCC, which is American Redress Coalition of California, and that's another one of our CJEC partners. So it's a coalition of groups of different advocacy agencies that come together to do this work on reparations.
Okay. Now I put something on the screen. This is one of the reasons why I was hoping that Chris would be here today, but I'm sure you all can answer this as I get the AB 1604 hearing. Can anyone give us a good summary? When Chris went to that hearing, what was the gist of that hearing, the AB 1604? I mean, obviously, this has led to where we are now with the SB 189. But if anyone can touch on that, go right ahead. Give us a summary so people understand that.
Yeah, I'll let Kim take that one. I think you were at one of the hearings, right?
1604. So 1604 was the, and Friday, correct me if I'm wrong, the Upward Mobility Act. So the Upward Mobility Act was to diversify state boards here in California. So that would add to state boards. What happened with 1604 and actually our language is the governor liked our disaggregation language and wanted to pull that out of 1604. So before 1604 even finished its journey, Governor Gavin Newsom pulled the disaggregation language out and said, I want to, put this in the budget. So 1604, kind of our language on disaggregated data was wrapped into 1604, which was the Upward Mobility Act, and that was to diversify state boards. Do we even know what happened with 1604 altogether? Did that make it through?
I think it made it through, but SB 189 fast-tracked our section, which was Section 4 of the original bill, the original AB 1604. And this is what we want to happen often. Governor Newsom actually rejected the bill when it was AB, I think, 105, because he realized that there was a fiscal component. There were dollars that needed to be allocated. So he took the time to actually allocate, I think it was about $14 million just in order to reissue paperwork within the state to collect this data properly. And that's the kind of action that we need when it comes to reparative justice, particularly for freedmen, folks, and from folks from the descendant community, because a lot of times there's federal legislation that was drafted by Sherrod Brown out of Ohio. He's a senator from Ohio, and the bill is a good bill. It made it through the Senate. It's to repair and memorialize and make historic websites out of our African-American burial grounds, which we know we are at a lot of the American forts. We are in sites that, you know, were segregated sites. We couldn't be buried next to white folks and all kinds of stuff. But for that to be a national initiative, the budget is $3 million. It's inadequate. And so we need the kind of leadership that we actually saw from Gavin Newsom on this to make it real and tangible with real dollars and real budgetary allotment. So that's 1604.
Okay. Somebody in the chat room, brother Poppy, he's a good brother. He had a question. I know this is the question that everyone is wondering. What would be the form that you can imagine reparations being? Could it be a combination? I know people often say, hey, I want a check. We want money. Or could it be a combination of both money as well as particular programs that are set, such as land, education? I've always been an advocate that I think black people, and this is very radical what I'm going to say here, I think black people should be exempt from all income tax.
Yep.
That means when we get paid, if you have a job, you get everything.
Yep.
Not the government doesn't take a dime out of your check. Now that's radical.
Tax exempt status.
You got tax exempt status, which means what? You're bringing more money home. That's just just one example.
Is it really radical? Jeff Bezos doesn't have any money taken out of his check.
Yep.
Exactly, and he's a billionaire. Ain't that something?
That's right.
That and estate taxes on, I think, is it 11 million or 30 million? It used to be 5 million. I would have to double check what first dollar on estate tax is, but it's some ridiculous amount now. So, yeah,
and
is
any
it really
business
radical?
that we incorporate too, any business that we start should be non-tax, should be tax exempt.
I think we should have access to U.S. patents. Yeah, most of the U.S. patents that existed, I would say prior to like the 1950s, were from us. It was were things that were straight stolen from us. So I feel like in terms of U.S. patents, we should be able to open a business tomorrow and not have to pay. If I want to sell Coca-Cola's in whatever, call it Friday Cola, I should be able to use Coca-Cola's, whatever their patented formula is, and say that it's the Coca-Cola formula under Friday Cola, and not be charged a license fee, a usage fee, anything fee. If we look back at like music and how music, the laws around music and copywriting are still so super antiquated.
Edison stole everything from Latimer, everything.
Well, let me ask you this question, and I'm going to read this to you all. What about the Homestay Act? The history. Here's the history. We know what the history is. It was an open land ownership to male citizens, widows, and single women. Okay, immigrants, right, pledging to become citizens. But in 1866, the Civil Rights Act in the Fourth Amendment guaranteed that African Americans were eligible as well. But check this out, and you all know this. Black homesteaders used this particular act to build new lives, which they owned their land, they worked to provide for their families, and to educate their children. Should we be bringing back that act? Should we be reactivating it? Because I think I've heard Sister Friday Jones, I think I heard you in that space the other day make mention about this too.
Yeah, I'm an advocate for that. And honestly, California, there's Allenstown. Allenstown was a black town that was like starved out. They put the train station one town over, that was the white town. And we've seen things like that through the rural South. And to be very frank and honest, and there are black townships, historically black townships, where they used to do sharecropping that have unpaid tax bills on the township books as assets. The United States government, the state of California, could go to any of these townships and allocate those resources before they even have to get into national parks territory. They could allocate those townships to the freedmen folks that want land, that want that rural land. They could just go into townships today and go scoop it up. $250,000 a pop to give whole areas that literally have trees growing through front porches. That is what America looks like when you go through the rural South. When you outside of Charlotte, North Carolina, when you get off of the beaten path in Montgomery, Alabama, if you drive down south, there's plenty of land here. It's available.
Yes.
Before Bill Gates buys it all up. Yeah.
Yeah. And I would add property tax exemption to the tax exemptions that we're talking
property
about.
tax.
As well as estate. We need to build generational wealth. We need to be able to hand what we do get, be it a little or a lot, onto our children without Uncle Sam touching it.
Now, let me ask this other question too. This is a statistic that's legitimate. When you have a black man or woman who has a existing business and they wish to expand their business to make it grow, to become a franchise, right? When black men and women go to get a business loan to expand an existing business, not to start a business, they get turned down by the tune of about, somewhere between 50%, where you have white society gets turned down by 24%. We're talking about people who have proof of concept of a existing business. So you've got a lot of crooked business policies going on here too. Well, we know some of this is not some of it. A lot of it is based in racial stereotypes of us.
Well, I mean, you have to deal with predatory lending, of course, but we also have to deal with dismissive lending. I mean, the reason that our businesses aren't able to grow is because we don't have access to capital. That's the reason why most of our businesses fail, because we don't have access to capital the way other businesses. And I'm not just putting this on white businesses anymore. The people that are getting the largest amounts of loans right now through the Small Business Administration are Latinos. And, they're coming in and able to get loans. And then you also have to look at, I heard someone say, and I'm not sure exactly if I was in a Twitter space or on another cast, but about the credit system. The credit system is a direct reflection of the way we have been laid out here in this country. And of course, there's a ton of black people that have great credit. But by and large, most people's credit struggles because they don't have the resources to pay for some of the things that affect their credit report. So I think when you start talking about reparations, most people, and I believe that Poppy person actually, his question was formed in more of a dollar amount type. Most people look at reparations as a check. They don't look at it as policy and legislation that needs to be set forth. Of course, we want the check. We definitely want the bag. But the big thing is, there's no point of us giving us $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 for every American freedman if we don't have a place where we can actually make that money work for us. And we start talking about access to capital. We start talking about home ownership. I'm on our local politicians' heads now, and will continue to be, because all they want to do is talk about affordable housing. No, I want to talk about affordable home ownership. All they want to talk about, are things, I heard our state senator here, in my direct area, the one who represents us, his big thing right now is getting more money for the bridge cards of the poorest people that live in this county, which we know are black people. We don't need more money on the bridge cards. How about getting us access to substantive incomes? How about getting us access to substantive careers? And then we can save our own money. Maybe we can come up off that tit of the government, in a bridge card and whatnot. See, they want to keep giving us these little handouts and these little trinkets. And what we're looking for is repair. We're not looking for Band-Aids anymore. We're looking for stitches. We're looking for surgery. And all we've been getting is Band-Aids on bullet holes.
Right.
And let me talk a little about education, if I could, Infoman.
Yes. Yes.
In the Freedmen hearings, with the 5 tribes that was last week, Thursday, in front of Congress, one of the issues was the fact that freedmen in some of the nations, particularly those where they are not considered full citizens, those young people are unable to go to the indigenous school, the indigenous nation school. I don't remember the name. I don't remember exactly where it was, but it's an issue. I graduated from Howard University. Howard University was founded by Otis Howard, who was a general during the Civil War. And the whole point of Howard University was to allow teaching and I think it was teaching and nursing for the freedmen. And in today's world, people are like, oh, well, why is there such a large, foreign population at Howard University? Well, dollar for dollar, we can't afford to compete with foreign students who can write a $40,000 check every year for 4 years. That's not something the average freedman parent is in a position to do. But when you talk about legislation and what could it look like, those freedmen colleges and the purposes and the missions that they were originally founded on should be throwing scholarships at the descendant community, should be throwing scholarships at the freedmen community. There is no real HBCU in the state of California. I think they count King Drew as one,
Yeah,
but
that's one.
this state has multiple economies. Hollywood is here. There should be a HBCU for entertainment and not just teaching you how to act and how to be an athlete, but you should be doing sports and artist management. You should know the business of the industry itself. Entertainment law should be a pre sort of 4-year program that jumpstarts you for law school in entertainment law. We have winemaking in Northern California. We got farms galore. They're cow farms, California cows. We saw the commercials. We remember them. There should be some sort of farm school that is an HBCU that also does incubation, so that after a kid graduates with their degree, if they think they're ready to launch whatever, ETM wines or something like that, we got LIKE, LIKE strawberries. I don't know, whatever we trying to do, there should be an incubator for those students to do that. And
aviation, all of that.
Yeah.
As well as athletic management. I mean, how come others know how to manage athletes, but somehow we don't?
Right. We know how to play the game, but we don't know the game.
Right. But
in Sacramento, there should be a school that's a political policy where you learn legislation, you learn candidate, how to be a candidate, how to do campaign financing. That should be something, and California can do that. California got enough money for 5 different countries.
Right. Every state where cannabis is legal, all their PWIs should offer a cannabis curriculum so you can major in that and be able to go into that field upon graduating. I mean, you got all these industries booming in these different states, but nobody's talking about the education about being a botanist, about being a processor and being things, not just a dispensary owner. We don't want that. We want to be people. We want to control the game,
the taxes and the laws.
And California has these kind of programs. You got UC Davis that has a botany program. I knew a couple of brothers that were in that program. We got all these agricultural and you know what's crazy? When you look at the history of Black people in America as it relates to agriculture, that's really an industry based on our ancestry that we should have or should have had locked up. I believe now this is going to be unpopular what I'm about to say. That's an industry that we should dominate across the board. Think about it. If you control the food sources of a nation, of a country, you control a lot. You should control everything. Yeah. Think about it. I really believed you have Booker T. Washington and you had W.E. Du Bois. I believe, and he talked about the talented 10, go to college, people of the elite. And Booker T. Washington was talking about own land. I believe, as this may be unpopular for some people, I think Black people made a mistake. I believe that we should have followed our ancestors, should I say. I believe they should have followed the Booker T. Washington philosophy of land ownership, businesses, because I look at other groups that come to this country who have very little education. And of course, there's some set asides that are given to some folks, but they're able to still have basic businesses without having a lot of education. So it makes me think that education is important, but land ownership, to educate yourself to that, is even more powerful. And maybe that's the way we should have went. I got a couple of questions I want to ask. As I shout people out in the chat room, I want everyone to ponder this question. The first question is, the study that they're going to do here, the Senate bill, which is law now, 189, they're going to use state workers as sort of the testing of this. I want to know, what do we want out of this? What is this study going to collect to let us get to the bottom line? And then the second question I want you all to ponder on is, how can what's happening in California translate itself across the country? I want anybody to speak to other states that are enacting the same type of policy. They're using California as a blueprint, maybe not. So just hold on with your thoughts and what you have to say, as I'm just going to shout some people out in the chat room real quick, because I believe in definitely respecting the audience and what they bring to the table. So here we go, folks. All right. We've got Jackie in the house. Thank you for being here. We got Vaughn. We got brother Brian in the house. He's a new mod now, coming over from Sir Hill Speaks Network. We got Joe in the house. Ivan Fernando, thank you for sticking around. DC, the Purple Divas in the house. We got my man Nappy Yankee. Have a lot of respect for this brother. He says here, Information Man Show, serious question. Is Freeman ADOS or is it FBA? Shouldn't that be established to show that you're unfair, you're unfined and not confused? That you're unified. Let me correct that. That you're unified and not confused. And I'll ask our guest a question about that. Let me go up here to go to last call. And we got Dever Guns. Thank you. We got Shauna U.S. Freeman. Thank you. Jackie again. Brother Peppy is in the house. Peppy. JW. And I got to give some love to my lady, A-Lady 747. She says, I don't know what political science is teaching people these days, but it's failing. I have to agree with her. We got the healthy G-Mom in the house. Yes. Oh, we got Old Reliable that's coming in pretty strong here. Thank you for being here. And anybody that I missed, I apologize. Golden Melanin is in the house. She says, need to have their mental horizon stretched. It's more to it than a check. I mean, everybody's got different opinions. We got Back to the Basics in the house. Thank you for being here. And let me just go up. And we got Brandy King in the house. And we got Stills here, Sister Stills. We got Imbrant Family Entertainment 7 in the house. Thank you for being here. And so I'm going to bring this on down. I think someone super chatted. I think this is Valis saying, what would it be? Let me put this up here. What would be the proper amount? Now, we did answer this question, but we might have answered. I don't know. Village is saying this. Thank you for the super chat, by the way.
Thank you for the super chat.
And the question is, what would be the proper amount of reparations per recipient? How would individuals with mixed backgrounds be assessed? Okay, we'll stop there. By the one drop rule? Right. Let me move this sound.
You're going to say that, right?
Right. Well, I mean, technically that was on the books in the United States, and I don't know if they took that off the books. So if you got one drop, but you got to be able to prove lineage. That's the key here. You got to prove lineage. Okay.
If your family was here before World War I, then you are a Black American. Now you want to call yourself ADOS, FBA, Negro, Colored, African American, whatever name you want to go by. If your family was here before World War I, then that means your ancestors suffered through slavery, Jim Crow, and everything else.
Okay. Now I know I hit you with those other questions, but my man Nappy Yankee, he asked a question: is there a distinction between between Black people who identify themselves as freemen from what we see in the ADOS movement, or people who are part of the FBA movement?
Before we get that question answered, brother, I just want to quote that I found. There's Black farmers own only about 1% of U.S. farmland. So that's where we at.
Wait a minute. Wait, say that again for the high seats and the cheap seats as well.
Word. So I also put this in the chat, family. You guys can go see it because we always bring receipts. Black farmers only own about 1% of U.S. farmland.
That's a damn shame.
And last time I checked, the black farmers were still struggling to get what was due them, even under the Obama administration. Another damn shame.
They got
Tell the truth.
They got brothers still in jail for selling weed that white folks are out here getting rich selling weed today.
Fact.
Right.
Yeah, and black farmers are struggling even under the Biden administration. You talk about Obama. I mean, he put a little set aside of the COVID funding to them, and that's being blocked by the Supreme Court, or it's being held up with a lawsuit because they said you can't do race-based politics like that.
Right. And yet, Joe Biden, Jim Crow Joe Biden, has the nerve to say to black people, if you don't vote for me, then you're not black enough.
Right.
You have to laugh to stop from crying.
He also said that he was going to have black people's back because he realized we're the ones who put him in office. And so far, no tangibles that I've seen.
Right, exactly. Would anybody like to tackle the question that Nappy Yankee brought up? I know that we have all these different monikers. People that are FBA, they identify that. People that identify themselves as ADOS. And then you have Freeman, which personally, Freeman does have a historical context to it. But maybe I'm answering my own question. What are your thoughts about that? Is there a distinguish?
So, look, I'm not affiliated with any of those quote unquote organizations, if you will. The Freedmen journey for me, and I can only speak for myself, the Freedmen journey for me is almost akin to the genocide journey for me. The more you delve into reparations work and reparations space, the more you look at what has happened in the United States. You look at the indigenous treaties and who signed them and how they were signed. You look at after the Revolutionary War and the Paris Act, which was the peace treaty after the Revolutionary War, and you see who's on that. It was the UK. It was a prince from Germany. It was the Vatican. When you start understanding who the players are and the historical context, for me, I came to the realization that Black folks in America really have been under genocidal attack pretty much since the formation of this country in 1776. And before, but yeah. I just want to keep context. I want to talk about the United States of America, right? From their founding. And the freedmen and what was supposed to essentially have been granted and was really pulled back again due to the genocide that was happening. This is going back to the basics and reviving a place and point in time where we actually had rights under those civil rights acts of the 1800s, of the late 1800s, and then looking at the pathway forward. One of the other questions that was asked had to do with, the implications with California and federal reparations and what's happening in other states. California right now is leading the way. And the way that the California bill is written, it challenges HR 40 in its current form. HR 40 really does not prioritize the descendants of U.S. chattel slavery. It doesn't really give much credence to freedmen rights that were maintained and should be repaired through the reparations process. And so those factors alone for me are significant and should be what is being adopted. Having Sheila Jackson Lee come down to the Board of Supervisors here in Los Angeles and convince the Board of Supervisors to get behind HR 40, for me, as a Californian, is problematic because we are already leaps and bounds ahead of what HR 40 is after it's been on Congress's books for 30 years and hasn't moved really an inch.
Well,
and so New York started reparations, that is sort of this all black, it was defeated when it went up to their assembly, to their state assembly, and to their state senators. This pathway is the way. That's all I'm going to say.
Let me just say this. I remember when Dr. Claude Anderson, back in the late 80s or early 90s, somewhere in there, they had some type of hearing and he broke everything down. And it was a congressman, I should remember this, who introduced this HR 40 bill in the first place. Conyers, who unfortunately passed away. Well, look at me. I have gray hair now. I was younger. I've gotten older. I'm 52 years old. I was much younger then. And I'm saying to myself, well, wait, what the hell's going on here? How long does it take to have this study? Why are they stalling this study? Right. We have all the historical historians like John Howe Franklin. We have various sisters and brothers who are professors who have researched this sort of stuff. What are they waiting for? And
we got
you
DNA.
see the people they had speaking at that conference. You know, when they had that reparation, they had Danny Glover that was there that looked like he was half asleep. You had this other cat that was running around on the subways in New York half dressed. What was that dude's name? We just had a lot of weird people that were speaking up on issues that had nothing to do with us. It's like, why are these people speaking for us? And the honest question is, for everybody on the panel, what are they doing wrong that California is doing right? This is the federal government, for God's sake.
Hey, brother, can I answer that? And I
Yes,
definitely
sir.
want everybody else to chime in.
Yes.
What they're doing wrong is we are community based, right? We think about the people first. We are not just individuals. We think about the community, right? So I'm not going to name no names, but there's a lot of grifters out there.
Yes.
Right? I'm not going to name no names, but there's a lot of grifters. And so when you're for the people, you think about the people and what's important for the people. So that's what I have to say about that. And I'll land my plane and I'll let everybody else.
All right. Thank you. Anybody else want to gravitate towards that?
Yeah, we are community focused. And you know, I think there are a lot of unique things about the Black American culture and society. And I've traveled and worked throughout the Caribbean, throughout the diaspora. But we do, first of all, primarily understand our position as adversarial and combative against the colonizers. And that is something that we stand alone throughout the diaspora in that. And we also understand that we are a community and that we must look out for ourselves. Even Pan-Africanism is really a Black American concept. Let's tell the truth. Let's tell the truth.
Yeah,
tell the truth.
Yes, it is.
We're the only people
It
who
is.
really even feel that way. We go to everybody else with our arms open and then get our hearts broken. I'm not even going to try to go down that route, but you know what time it is on there.
Okay.
So
well, go ahead,
here,
sister.
I want to piggyback on that. Dr. Weber is a brilliant woman. She's an educator. She is a Pan-Africanist, and she wrote this bill for California. So what people are getting wrong that have historically led this space is the fact that, one, the study is being done already by California, and Dr. Weber was forward thinking enough as an educator to make this lift easier for the federal government because of how thorough the report by California is, and because it on purpose was not limited to the state. The second thing is Dr. Weber moved forward with the grassroots organizers. She didn't go to legacy organizations. She could have gone to the NAACP. She could have gone to the Urban League. She could have gone to NARC and NCOBRA. That's not where she went. She went with the grassroots organizers. And I think that because of age differences, a lot of those people in those legacy organizations are the age of my parents. And I feel like that generation came through that Pan-African movement. That generation literally made it and defined it. And I think that it's very challenging for those elders to understand their beliefs in a modern context without somehow feeling like they are giving up their belief system. And
Right.
I think until that conversation is had, until Sheila Jackson Lee actually listens to her grassroots organizers that are her constituents, until Sheila Jackson Lee listens to organizers like me who actually do have a national arm, the National Assembly of American Slavery Descendants, they're going to stay in an antiquated mindset, and they are going to miss this window of opportunity.
Okay, sister, now I want you to speak on, because I heard you talk about this in the Twitter space with Brother Freeman Media. Let's talk about Brother Sandy. This is the man right here.
Dr. Doherty.
Dr. Doherty. Dr. Doherty. Okay, this man understands the economics of this, of reparations. Can anyone speak, as well as you, sister, on the progress and how important he is to this movement?
Look, Dr. Doherty literally is in my phone. He and Kirsten Mullen, who are the authors of From Here to Equality, where they, in chapter 13, gave numerous economists' valuations of how you get to reparations and how you could quantify it on a national level. He has been very integral in the work that is being done. He's one of the first professors who really stepped into a national space to really have this conversation of what it would cost America. He has made himself available, again, not being stuck in thought. He's made himself available to the grassroots organizers. Kirsten Mullen has made herself available to the grassroots organizers in order to write a federal bill to replace H.R. 40. That bill has been socialized on Capitol Hill because he socialized it. And I think that, you know, he's an unsung hero in that he doesn't necessarily always get the credit that he deserves because he is in opposition to some of the legacy organizations. But when you have him, when you have Dr. Kramer, who actually put the valuation into quadrillions based on simple interest.
6.6.
Yes, quadrillion
6.6
for unpaid wages only. Like, this doesn't get into harms. This doesn't get into, looking at lengths of time. And this is, how long these people lived under these racist regimes. And now we're going to set the course right by the same levels of time. Like, this is just basic money and finance. When you have people like that leading California, and he's been doing this work since the 70s, and I'm a 70s kid. He's been doing the work my entire life, not just my entire adult life. When you have that kind of credibility, MIT mind, an MIT professor, decorated, highly decorated, you can't dispute that. You can't come against that. That's also what people are getting wrong, because again, with my Howard University, and I forget the sister's name, but she's from the history department there. I think her name is something like Anna Lucia or Anna, something like that. She's a professor at Howard who came out antagonizing Dr. Doherty when he was working on his book before he dropped it. And she mocked him and said, how long is it going to take? But this is the same university that is producing the brother that is on Roland Martin's show. He's out of Howard University. He the Africana, Dr. Carr led the Africana department. And so you ask, what are people getting wrong? You are stuck in antiquated ideologies and not being willing to move to see the moment and where we are right now. That to me is a problem.
Hey, Sean, brother, just real quick. Do you have the slide that I sent you for the color of wealth study?
The color of wealth study. Let me go right ahead and look this up while you all. The color of money.
Yeah, I think something like
there
that.
It is. There it is. There it is. Let me do this.
because Dr. Sandy Darity, he was part of the group that actually did that study. And
I actually have the actual let me see. Can it? Well, this I have the actual picture of. I have the thumbnail picture of it. Color of Wealth. The Color of Wealth reporting summary.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
He was part of the group that did it for multiple cities. They did a Los Angeles study, a Boston study.
Let me see. Let me see if I can download this down. Let me see if this will let me download it. Okay, it's downloading. Okay. But I have the. Did you send me the actual complete article? Because I just have the. I think it was at UCLA.
Yeah, I could see the link.
Luskin School of Public Affairs. Yep. The Color of Wealth. Let me see if this is what I'm about to upload now. I don't know. I think this might just be what I'm downloaded right now. Let me see.
So just to give us some context while you're doing that, and Friday can probably elaborate, especially the one in Los Angeles. I mean, those numbers are crazy when you're talking about, the wealth gap between what, Black American descendants are worth, comparatively speaking to like other ethnic groups there, right?
Right.
I mean, basically you got the Mexicans and the Blacks at the lower tier, and you got Black immigrants, right, at a higher tier. And that's why data disaggregation is so important, because it just shows you the inequities that Black Americans are facing, right? So, yeah, I'll go ahead and put the link in that chat. But
yeah, I think what you sent me was sort of the opening part of the article.
Correct.
But I think I do not have the other data with it. So for whatever reason, it did not come out. I got all the other stuff that you sent me, but I did not get that. I got the other information about not only will this historical legislation provide critical and timely information to California Reparation Task Force, which recently affirmed lineage-based eligibility for California reparations, this legislation begins the process of recognizing and identifying a peoplehood of African-American, African freedmen in California whose ancestors came to America in chains and were enslaved for hundreds of years, suffered Jim Crow, and yet managed to build the most powerful, wealthiest country in the world. In addition, this legislation is a model for states and localities across the country seeking to take serious steps towards repairing the damage done to the identities and livelihoods of African freemen for over 400 years. I have that particular clip that you sent me, but I read that off. That was good for people to hear that. Let me come back in here. Is there anything additional that people need to know? I'm always thinking like that. Is there anything that's most important for people to know going forward with the reparations issue? Not only in California, but I think it goes back to the question I had before. What do you think it's going to take to wake up other freemen, other Black people across the country who believe in this movement to get something going in their particular state? Freeman Media, you're in Michigan. Is there any move in Michigan where people are feeling this movement, that they want to make some moves? I think Sister Friday Jones, I think I heard you say something about Florida. Is there something going on out there in this society, in this country that we don't know about?
I don't know if Michigan has started. I know
I'm in Michigan, so
this is it? You can tell us yes or no.
Go right ahead, brother.
Oh, your mic is off. Your mic.
Turn your mic on.
I'm not on.
Now you're on. Now you are on.
Okay.
Your mic is on now. You're hot. You got a hot mic.
There isn't anything active really happening in the state of Michigan right now, because I don't believe anybody is working collectively on the political scale. There are a few grassroots folks that are trying to get some things done that are out here, but right now it's pretty nil. And I've talked to a few people. These Twitter Spaces have helped meet up with some people online, or we want to really kind of get together and start working locally, because I believe this is where it has to start for us. It's got to be a local politicians, and a lot of people are behind. I mean, that's one of the things. I mean, we went through that whole thing with the hashtag mafia, and that was nothing. And a lot of people didn't jump on then, and people that are just now starting to talk about it because the term reparations just continues to cycle. Now they're starting to ask questions. They're behind. They're not really understanding. I think the pandemic helped, though. I think the pandemic helped folks realize exactly where they really are on the economic scale and how far, down we are on it. And that's compared to illegals. There's literally, this is why I have an issue with everything that they're allowing illegals to do and to gain over here when we got American freedmen, that can't find jobs, can't find housing, don't have access to resources. And that stuff is going readily to people that shouldn't even be on this soil. So, I think we really have to just get our act in order in the state of Michigan, and really start thinking as a collective. As Friday said, the grassroots is going to be our way. We can't work with companies. We can't work with companies. We can't work with celebrities. Nobody is going to rescue us on this. It's got to be our thing. And the only way we're going to get politicians to advocate for us is to vote the politicians in that are going to advocate for us. The ones that are in, we already seen what they're going to do. And I've got a one and done campaign going here. I say, you don't do it right this time, you'll only do it right one time. That's my motto in Michigan. And that's the way I want people to vote. If you don't do it right this time, you'll only do it wrong one time. You getting out.
Right. Telling the truth right there, brother.
Tell the truth.
Telling the truth.
Hey, brother. Hey, Sean, can I ask Brother Freeman a question about Michigan? Is that cool?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thanks. What's up, Brother Freeman?
What's going on, brother?
What's up, man? Is now in Detroit specifically, isn't that majority black?
Still majority black, but the white mayor takes that majority black and really suppresses it. The money that is steered around Detroit now is white money. Majority of the black money has been pushed to certain pockets of the city. Downtown money is white money. The businesses that are downtown, and frankly, you've got the Ilitch family. They own the Detroit Tigers, the Detroit Red Wings, and then you have Dan Gilbert, who owns Quicken Loans and owns half the city now. And they just gave him a $60 million tax break, to finish a project downtown Detroit. They gave a billionaire, a multi-billionaire, a $60 million tax break when we've got people sleeping in front of the edifice that he is not building right now because he says he needs that tax break to keep going. But we got people sleeping in front of that building that he's getting a $60 million tax break on. Other than that, the other resources that were flowing into the city are now going to the suburbs. Any event, any major event that was coming downtown Detroit in the summertime or in the fall, those are being pushed out to the suburbs. And they're also fractionalizing the business to where, they'll have 2 or 3 events go on at one time. So it ain't like you can get money here, you can get money here, you can get money here. No, you either got to pick and choose where you're going to get money if you're going to try to do that type of business. The mayor has killed Detroit. He's killed Detroit. And I know some people think he's doing a good job, but he's not. It's a lot of symbolism. They painting murals and putting up walls and tearing down. It's all symbolism, right. and Duggan is a huge crook, and he was a crook before they elected him. Now that he's gotten in, nobody can get him out because he's got the right voters voting for him. But yeah, we're John Conyers tried while he was here, and they just actually cut John Conyers' wife out of being able to run. I guess, she had some issues with the law. So now they're saying that she can't run. They don't want no riders, on council, working in city government. They just want yes men.
Right. Let me do this. We got a lot of people that are watching. I want to thank everybody in that chat room for watching. We got Brown, Girl Bella that's in the house, Deborah Guns, Brother Keith, Last Call, Brother Bryant is in there, new mod to the channel. A lot of great people in there. I appreciate that. Do me a favor, because you know how YouTube is. Make sure you share this video on your social media so that more people watch this video. So definitely share it. I appreciate that when you have an opportunity. In terms of the political game, dealing with these Republican clan and dealing with the Democrats as it relates to this reparation issue, we already know that Kamala Harris, when she was on the campaign run, admitted to, I believe, Griot, that she was not going to just do something for black people. And I think that was a big, big loss of opportunity on her part and oversight on her part. She should have never did that. And of course, Joe Biden tried to push this whole thing about he was going to be the social justice president and blah, blah, blah. And we had, who I'm not a big fan of, Clyde. Oh my God. Clyde Byrne in South Carolina, and all those black folks rallied around Joe Biden like he was second coming of Jesus Christ. And so far, when they got in office, as you already know, they made it very much front and center that they were going to do something for the immigrant population, definitely for the LGBTQ community. They put them front and center, and they're not afraid to say their names. But when it comes to black people, they got to give us this, well, if we do this for this group over here, all boats are going to rise up high. Oh, well, we can't say the word black people, but we'll say people of color. They want to do this increase of this unity, rainbow bright type thing. And I'm like, what the hell is this? And
they're trying to replace our voting block by outpopulating us with immigrants.
Right. They think that the immigrants are going to come over here. You're right, brother. And they're going to give them a new voting block.
Quickly. They're disrespecting us before they can afford to do that.
Right. But check this out, brother Devin Locker.
Before these people can actually vote.
Right. Brother Locker, am I right or wrong? When you look at the numbers and those immigrants that they're bringing over that they're coveting, when they come over, look at the voting. Black people still vote for the Democrat Party more than even the immigrants do.
Listen, man, those Latino Catholics ain't going for no abortion. They ain't going for no LGBTQ. They ain't going for none of that pronouns bullshit. Excuse my French. They ain't going for none of that, man. The Democrat Party is trying to pull too much crap with them, with their agenda, to think that people are going to be so grateful for passage into the United States that they're going to take their Catholic patriarchal homes and turn them inside out for all of the confusion that they see being promoted right now.
Because most of the people, like you said, that are coming from those particular countries, a lot of them are Catholic, and they believe in
heathens, man. You're not bringing in heathens. You're bringing in people. They are poor. They're poor, but they're religious.
Right, and they have in their religion, they believe in man and woman being together, being married, and they don't believe in any of this alternative lifestyle.
Well, and they believe that a man is a man and a woman is a woman, and neither the twain shall meet. And it doesn't matter how you dress or whether you wear lipstick, you're still a man if you're a man, and you're still a woman if you're a woman. And only men, can make babies, and only women can have babies. And all of this stuff that we're being taught to question nowadays, right? See, they're trying to promote too much foolishness at the same time that they're trying to outpopulate us with people who are even more conservative in their values than we are.
And so now it comes back to hunt them. And this is evident because during this last election, as we already know, black women voted for Joe Biden and Kamala Harris at about, 93%, and black men voted at 86%. So we still, despite them sort of treating us like stepchildren, we still tend to vote for them. But the reason why I bring this up for everybody on the panel is that how do we go forward with continuing to put pushback on the Democratic Party as it relates to reparations and what we want? Because I think the Democrats are about to take a big beating in these midterms. I think they're about to get a big wake up call. I think they're going to lose. I think Joe Biden's going to lose the House and he's going to lose the Senate. That's what I think is going to happen because people are not happy right now with what his administration is doing.
Yeah, well, yeah, brother Sean, and that's why I asked the question to my brother Friedman Media, right? Like in terms of like the population is majority black there, like what's going on there? So I mean, one of my suggestions would be tangibles, right? Like if you're not going to help us out with reparations, we're not going to vote for you anymore. Reparations should be priority. So once again, brother Friedman, like what's going on in Detroit? Are Negroes scared to fight for reparations? And is that something that can be done in Detroit, for example, since it's majority black?
I think that we have the technology right now to actually trace down the dollars that were made from the labor that we gave throughout slavery, and the institutions and the banks, right? Because remember, a lot of these banks that that now control the world established their wealth off the slave trade. The stock market itself established its initial wealth off of the slave trade. So we can trace where the money went. We can trace how the money has grown and multiplied over the generations. We can trace exactly where the wealth has gone. And those are the people who need to be taxed to, and we also know the people who did the work to pay for it. So we have the technology. We have the technology to do it through DNA, through family history, through and definitely through the documented history of the banking system that was established not only from the sale of African bodies, but also from the sale of the fruits of the unpaid labor that occurred throughout the whole time. We can do it.
Okay, Freeman. You're telling the truth.
Tell the truth.
Freeman Media. Thank you for the statement that you just made, Brother LIKE. Freeman Media. I think your mic was turned off, or something's going on with your audio. Can you hear me? Okay. Your mic's not working. You can hear me, but your mic's not working. Your mic's not working. Whatever you're speaking into. What's going on here? Hey, come in and come back out.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I was going to tell you. Yeah, I was going to tell you to come in and come back out, but now you're in.
Okay. I just didn't want you guys to catch all the wind noise because I'm outside. I mean, they've had reparations programs started. I really wasn't going to mention it. I actually got forwarded something because that had something to do with NARC. You know, I mean, they're not serious. Anybody that's talking NARC, anybody that's talking NCOBRA, that's not talking real reparations. You know, and I believe because I've been here, all of this time, John Conyers actually I think he had something good in his heart. And I don't know the history of HR 40 from where it started to where it's at now, but I believe they probably kept him scaling it back because John Conyers was a writer here in Detroit. And he was around for the riots and before and whatnot. And he knew what Black people needed. And the way they've scaled back and peeled back and cut down, and HR 40 is not something that's substantive. And I don't believe that was his original thought. It might be what ended up being left when he died. And he knows that wouldn't have been anywhere necessary for what would be for repair here in Detroit. I mean, and I'm not in the city. I'm not in the city of Detroit, but I dwell there enough. And I know that people in Detroit, they need so much that it can't be just a check. Okay. We had people lose homes when they were stated to be, overtaxed or outtaxed. And it turns out that it was really a sham. And this was all done by the mayor. The mayor pulled this trigger, and there was like over $600 million, I believe, in mortgages that were forfeited. And you got people out here that still don't have homes.
Right.
And they were wrongfully, they were wrongfully evicted out of their own homes. And this was all done, and nobody's saying anything. You don't have any of the politicians fighting for any of this. On the primary line and last general, nobody's talking about this anymore. It's just like Flint water. Flint water is still brown.
Right. Well, Freeman Media, I did a video on that issue, and this is a shame. They over-assess people's property. I want the sisters to hear this because they did a big story about this. This happened a few years back, and it's still happening. There were a few in the documentary that I looked at. There were a couple of sisters in the documentary. They were living in their homes that they believed that they owned. The city of Detroit, in their mismanagement, overassessed them while they're living in their home thinking everything is fine. They're doing the best they can. Check this out. This is what was sad about it. You had a white man and his son and a couple of Black women sitting around computers. They were auctioning the home. They were buying the homes underneath them. And it was sad because you had Black folks trying to make their living, I guess, who were involved in this, looking at all these homes that black people lived in, brought the homes. Then he sent his son out to knock on the door. Imagine someone's knocking on your door and they tell you, hey, by the way, I actually own your house now. What do you mean you own my house? I'm going to give you two choices. You can either be a renter in your home that I now own because Detroit overassessed you. Now you've had your home taken underneath you and I got it in an auction. So you got two choices. You move out, or you can become my new tenant and pay rent. And hey, by the way, we'll fix your roof and do a few nice things, but you don't own this place anymore. This is what was happening in Detroit and has been happening to black people. And y'all sitting up here in the 21st century, Negroes out here today talking about we don't need no reparations, that this country don't owe our people nothing. Get the hell out of here.
Eminent domain has run freeways through entire black communities ever since the freeway system has been installed in the United States. Deliberately. And you can go from city to city, from the 105 in LA to every other city you can go to, and every major freeway you can see runs exactly right over what was a prosperous black community. Oh yeah. Oh no, we get reparations not only from slavery, but from everything that has happened since.
Right.
Yeah, and
go ahead, brother.
I'm sorry if I can say this, and that's why it's so important, even within the 500-page report. Now, I don't know the exact terminology, but I'm just calling New Freedmen's Bureau, right?
Okay.
That's why it's so important that we'll be able to set these bureaus up in places like Detroit, where we from, and California, Mississippi, wherever. So we make people accountable. Right? The legislature is accountable. Everybody needs to be accountable. Now, I guess the question is, should this be independent or should this be part of, government sponsored?
Maybe it should be done through a party. Maybe a political party. I don't know.
Black American Party. That's right. There, brother. Yeah, that's right. I forgot. Yeah, that's right.
All right, Black American Party. But whatever it is, people need to be held accountable, and we need to have, Black American freedmen who, historically speaking,
could be the Freedman Party.
There you go.
Like Freedman Party, we can rock with that too. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Let me
y'all to merge parties. We need y'all to merge.
The merge party. Right.
Black American Freedman Party.
Right. The Black American Freedman Party.
But Freedman Media, somebody in the chat wrote that Detroit is putting a reparations commission together. Would you consider putting an application to join that?
That's
Absolutely.
a very good question.
Serious.
Okay, all right. Well, they say it's on their website.
Yeah.
Who wrote that? I want to put that on the screen. I missed that.
Everything that I've seen has been connected with these Pan-Africanists out here. And
well,
the ones
even
who
if
don't,
it is connected with the
matter.
I mean, isn't it important for you to get a seat at the table so you could, make sure that everything's transparent and on the up and up, and that you have a voice in the matter? I mean,
absolutely.
Because they're going to try to have their tentacles on everything. So
right. If you don't have a seat at that table, what the sister is saying, then they're going to give you whatever crap that they want to shovel to you. So you have to do that, brother. You get involved, see what's going on.
Something there? Can I say something there? Then just
yes,
like
sir.
when I've seen some of these panels recently, I'm not sure why we have immigrants on our reparations panels. I'm not sure exactly how they're a part of this discussion. And I don't know if that's xenophobic or not. Don't care.
No, it's not.
But if you're not from here, how are you speaking for the harms of my people here?
And that's what happened in the HR 740 hearing in Washington. You had a lot of people speaking on that panel who were not of our lineage, telling everybody in America that black people don't need reparations. And then when you go and look at their background, they're not of our lineage. And this is what I'm saying earlier in the show. This is no shade to our immigrant brothers and sisters. But the bottom line is, how would you like if I come over to your country and tell you how to operate your struggle and operate what you're trying to get from someone who's oppressed your people? Man. You would not appreciate that. You would tell me to kick rocks, get out of here, Yankee,
Yeah,
get out of
Yankee.
here.
They be like, up out of here, Yankee.
Right. They would tell me, you from the United States. Well, boy, you're a Yankee. Get the hell out of here. If I went over to the continent of Africa, to a particular country over there and start, because
they'll tell you a Creole. You ain't a pure African. Get out of there.
And I've been on panels, sisters and brothers. I've been on panels where I've heard people from the continent of Africa have discussions about Africa and how they want to improve Africa. And when you as a Black American begin to give your opinion, they will say to you, have you ever been to Africa? What are you talking about? What are you talking about? They'll always say that a Black Americans come over as if we're with our arrogance to tell them about their country and what they should be doing. So I always look at that aspect of you got to show respect to other groups. You may not know their situation as well.
Can I interject something?
Yes.
Because
Go ahead, sister. Go ahead.
It troubles me to see like immigration becoming, as it is now, like a polarizing point with Black people from different parts of this planet.
Right.
Back in the 1800s, from about 1870 to 1930, the United States immigrated 26 million Europeans into this country for the sole purpose of reducing the Black voting power that had been granted during Reconstruction.
Amendment. Exactly.
And we were at that time 4 million people. So that was almost 7 times the number of people we were that the United States thought it was appropriate to genocide us with, and that's what it is. If your people, your European family, if they came here from 1870 to 1930, they basically were part of American genocide. You got a second wave of people, because people always move after wars. So you got a second group and wave of people that came after the 1940s. Why? Because we had a war. And so from the 1940s to about the 1960s, there was another window and wave of European immigration that happened. And so this idea that, oh, my ancestors, they came here after slavery. I don't care. They were a tool used by this country in order to diminish the power and citizenry of Black Americans, of freedmen. And so I don't care if you were Irish, Italian. I don't care if you were Japanese, if you were from Israel. I don't care if you were from Russia. It does not matter. You were used and imported and allowed to immigrate here and to access full citizenship in ways that Black Americans were not, so much so that even after having civil rights in the late 1800s, they had to fight for the same civil rights again in the 1960s. And
right.
So,
and then those other groups, when they got here and got settled in and they start to learn the law of the land, they begin to project their racism, white supremacy upon Black Americans.
Oh, absolutely.
So when the Irish came over here and the Italians, and I know the Irish, when they came over here, they had signs that said no dogs and Irish need to apply. And then when Irish got themselves sort of integrated into this society, as well as Italians, what did they do? They turned around and started messing with Black people.
But
where do you think most of the drugs got flooded in from?
Ireland beef that they bought across the ocean with them.
Right. And of course, remember,
that was original beef. That was European beef to begin with. So now you bought the beef across the whole ocean, and you still trying to have to write yourself out of the United States reparations. No, that dude from Arkansas, Cotton, who is as racist as he can be, his family's from the same township that my family's from in North Carolina. And the Black Cottons are buried in the Black cemetery, and the white Cottons are buried in the white cemetery.
Wow.
I don't, when it comes, like, reparations is nonpartisan. I don't care if you're Democrat, Green Party, GOP. I don't care what party you belong to. The history is the same. The debt is the same. And we're calling now that the debt is now due and it's payable. So regardless of what party you with, I will sit and have a conversation. If you're racist, I still will have a conversation with you, because there is no way that our people got some of the things that they received from some of the most racist human beings walking the planet Earth. And then in a 2020 world, in a 2022 world, we supposed to be afraid? Absolutely not. No.
Okay.
We've
Well,
got
let me.
bankruptcy and inheritance, and if you can inherit the wealth of your ancestors, then we can calculate the wealth that was unjustly earned by your ancestors and pay the descendants of those who earned it for them.
Okay. As we get ready to close the show out, because I'll definitely have to have everybody come back again, because I have a question that will lead us to the end, but this is very important, and I want everybody to answer this question, or those that are a part of the ETM media group. Right now, we know that California has made it law to collect the data. They put the Freeman term in there that's related to history. See, this is the difference. This goes back to what Nappy Yankee was saying. Of course, we have the FBA moniker, the ADOS moniker. But I see that the Freeman, what makes it different to me, is that it is part of history. It is a term that was literally part of history in which black people were freemen and got treated a certain way, as well with the Homestead Act in terms of land and the ability to own land, own your own business, and live your own life. I think Freeman goes along with that history. They go hand in hand with each other. Maybe I'm right or wrong here. So therefore, I think Freeman, just the term itself, in historical context, maybe I'm jumping out the window with this. I almost think that that's a term that black people should be utilizing a little bit more than we do, if not a lot more, because it actually traces us back to that lineage directly. Whereas the other monikers, people can debate those monikers all day.
Question, and I want to definitely build with people.
You froze up. You froze up, brother.
Man, them winters in Detroit.
Yeah, it's Detroit. Well, he's outside, so the internet's probably kind of, I don't know. But in a nutshell, can you, sisters and brother, can you give us a nice summary? We know that there's going to be data collected. What's the next, after they collect the data?
Right. And
what is the next step of where this process is going to go? Man. Exactly.
You got to calculate that interest.
Right.
It's wrong.
Agreed. But I would like to know, what's the next step that you're looking at this movement going from we got the law in place. We have a governor in office who seems to be working in behalf of what black people want in California as it relates to reparations. And thank God that we didn't get that buck dancer in office. You know who I'm talking about. That what is that guy? Thank God. If he had a guy in office.
You talking about Larry Elder?
Oh my, Larry, buck dancing, Sambo. Can I get a dime? If he had a guy in office, we wouldn't even be having this conversation in California right now, because he would have scrapped the whole thing. But anyway, I digress. Where do you hope to see this go coming out of the data that they're going to collect? You have the floor.
All right, so I'm gonna pass this to Kim and Friday, but I do want to mention that shout out to Governor Newsom and shout out to my fellow CJEC in the building, because if it wasn't for those grassroots brothers and sisters like the Fridays, like the Marcus Champion, shout out to Chair Camila Moore. I mean, she's just been steadfast reparations for descendants, right? So shout out to. So I'm gonna pass it real quick, but what I do want to mention is, if people have time and even go onto our platform, we actually went pretty in depth into this. Is that in the original bill of AB 1604, Freedmen wasn't even mentioned, right? So when you look at the new bill with SB 189, then they put that language in there. So it's very important, if there wasn't grassroots people, as I said before, like the Marcus Champions, and Maureen Simmons, can't forget about Maureen Simmons. If you go onto her channel, we actually, check us out, our channel. We did I don't know if Friday you weren't on that. I don't think you were on that panel, but I think Chris Larson was there. Another member, Cheryl Grills, who's a member of the task force. She was on there, and I can't remember the brother's name out of Los Angeles. He's either Assembly or Senate. But Maureen goes in and she talks about how she was part of the authorship of AB 3121. So definitely go check that out. But I just want to mention that it was very critical, right, between AB 1604 and now the SB 89 that Freeman was entered into that bill. So I'll let Kim and Friday go.
Just so you know, everybody, I do have in the description of this video the link to your YouTube channel, a link to the CJEC organization. I've got links in there that will link people to the SB 189 so that they can read the material on their own and digest this even more in detail. So all of that, everybody in the chat room, is in the description of this video. Just go down there and scroll down. You'll see all the links, and definitely remind people of your channel, brother, and where they can find you on other parts of social media. Go right ahead before we let the ladies come on in and speak the power that they're going to speak.
Oh, and first of all, brother, you know, man, we've been rocking for a minute, man. So really appreciate you before we get off. And everybody, subscribe to Information Man Show. If you haven't already, hit him up. I'm sure my brother Friedman Media has this stuff. And, you know, just do what you do. I don't know if my brother, I'm sorry, is it Devon?
Devin,
yeah, Devin. If you got a media channel, man, you know, hit my brother up too, you know.
Yes, sir.
You know, we all got
just search for me here on YouTube. I got 3 Devin Lockett channels and Biomed RX TV, as well as the Black American Party.
Black American Party, right on.
Because we all got to support each other, right? So basically, you can hit us up on etnmediagroup.com. You can find us there, YouTube page, subscribe to us. Just type in EMEND, the Mass Media Group, as it's on somewhere on the EMEND, the Mass Media Group. And we're on Twitter, we're on Facebook, I think. We're on TikTok, so you can find us everywhere.
Okay, brother. Okay. Let's go over, if I can, before I want to bring the ladies and have them really take us home with power. Brother Devin Lockett, you have something else that you wanted to mention, brother?
Yeah, I mean, I personally am very much in support of making real the question of reparations and actually calculating down to the very cent, right? Exactly what is owed and from whom and to whom. And we can actually do that. We have the technology, and I want to give a shout out to all of the brothers and sisters that are young, that are in IT, that are going to be able to help us to create the algorithms and the data extraction tools that we need in order to calculate not only the wealth that was generated through the slave trade and through the exploitation of the free labor that was given. We already know how to use technology to figure out who we are, right? Whether you want to call us Black Americans, African Americans, ADOS, FBA, freedmen, whatever you want to call us. And I would like everybody to also examine the concept. Remember, it's not only money that I believe should be part of reparations, but I believe that land should also be included in that, because land empowers us and empowers us. Remember, there was a time when we actually owned 30% of the land of this country. Mm-hmm. And, you know, it's a damn shame that, you know, that it's all been lost. And I want everyone to understand Georgism. Look up Georgism, right? I know it sounds kind of funny, right? But look up Georgism. Georgism was a concept of land value tax, that people who were hoarding large masses of land for future generations that don't exist should be taxed for the improvement of the value of their land based on all of the commerce and people moving in and everything surrounding their land and raising the value of that tax. If you apply a land value tax, you're forcing the owners of the large masses of land to either improve their land so that they can earn money with the land or liquidate. We can then take that particular, if we apply that law, if we apply that tax structure, we can then take that and make it incentivize those who have to liquidate this land to liquidate it to those of us who are owed reparations. So it can be done, and it can be done in a very practical way. we have the means, we have the technology, and we have the intelligence within our community. And that's all that, I mean, that's all I'm trying to say. Kudos to all of those. I'm of an older generation. I can contribute structure, right? I'm trying to contribute structure as well as I can, but we're going to need the minds of the youth. We're going to need the minds of Black American youth to actually apply the technologies that exist.
Yes.
To trace the monies that were not only earned, but the interest that was compounded upon that money. Many great structures, Bear Stearns Bank, probably most of the banks, right, that contributed to the to the NASDAQ and to the American economy and the world economy were first established on the slave trade.
Right. That's how America got its wealth. The wealth was built off the backs of freemen. Black people that have lineage here. You would not have the skylines that you have in New York or any port city in this country. The slave ships that were built, the money that was spent on clothing, all the things that was created. It created an industry which infused and empowered the economics of American society. That is a fact. So let me go over to Sister Kim and get her powerful words before I go to Sister Friday Jones as we get ready to close out. And as I was saying earlier, can you give us exactly what can we be hopeful for that can come out of the collection of the data that they're going to use for state workers to come to a conclusion, hopefully, about how reparations could become a reality for Black people in America, in California, specifically in America, who have lineage? Go right ahead, sister.
Yeah, so the data collection part of it, what we can expect is a better snapshot of the state of, Black American freedmen without, being aggregated to the rest of the diaspora. So that's for one. As far as where we go from here, Devin, you had a very thorough laid out plan, it sounds like, for this land liquidation. It sounds like you've put some thought into that. I just want to know, have you written up a proposal and sent that over to the California Reparations Task Force? Because right now the task force is in its development stage. So they are looking for input from the community on what our proposals are going to look like. So, I mean, I would hope that everybody in California, and even if you're not in California, if you have an idea of what a reparations package could look like, send that information over to the task force, because they are, considering this public input. I know for me, the issues have been with housing and employment. So I'm writing up proposals to what I think would be a good reparations plan dealing with housing and employment issues.
Well, thank you. Thank you for that motivation, sister, because you know what? Here we are in California, right? And we have a homelessness problem, and we also have a hoarding of land problem. So that's an absurdity. That's an absurdity. So I'm glad you gave me this inspiration. I am going to put pen to paper. Honestly, I just found out about Georgism very recently, and I know that there are there's a lot of support for what they call Georgism. I mean, please look it up. Georgist ideas. I wish I would have written down the last name of George that came up with this idea. But
Georgism, I'll look into it. That's the first that I've heard of it too. But it does not surprise me that people would be hoarding land like they've hoarded wealth and everything else. So that doesn't surprise me.
When we drive on the freeway, right? Look at all of those acres that we drive by just to get from here to San Diego, or from here to Houston, or from any major city to another. You just pass open acres of land, and you wonder who the hell owns all of this,
right?
You know, some of it has cows grazing. Most of it doesn't. You know, it's like it's not even being developed. It's not being used. Entire cities can exist on the lands that we drive by, right? That's the truth.
Yeah, so, true. And as far as where I'd like to see this go, as far as the new freedmen classification is, of course, I think we've got 8 years until the census, so that should be more than enough time to get it on the census. I'd also like to see it trickle down relatively quickly to the municipalities. All the cities need to be collecting this data too, as far as their employment information. And I just want to see it on every record where they call for any race, ethnicity classification. It needs to be included on there. So California is doing a great job in leading the way, but I really like to see other states follow suit quickly.
I agree with you. I would like to see the same. Let's go over to Miss Friday Jones and bring her up, shall we? And you've been very patient, sister. Once again, I'm so happy to have you here, as I am happy to have everyone. You brought so much context, so much flavor and facts to the program today. And this is what this is about. This is what I try to do on this channel, is give people things that are based in truth and not make believe. Thank you again. You heard my question. I know I have a kind of weird way that I interview people, but it's where do you want to see? We have it's law now. They're going to collect this data using state workers, I would imagine, state workers that are Black. And let's be honest, a good majority of how the Black middle class got built in this country was through state and federal jobs. You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of interesting that they're going to use state workers, and there's a lot of Black people that work for the state in California. So this is going to be very interesting. But where do you want to see this go? What do you want to come out of this? Because at the end of the day, we always say we want tangibles. So go right ahead. What do you see in the future?
You know, I'm a reparationist, so my dreams and goals are always longer and larger. So, you know, honestly, I want to see the next 7 generations of freedmen people do well in the state of California. Like I said previously, the state of California, I didn't say it in this way, but the state of California has the 5th largest economy. It also has the largest population of Black Americans. It's the 5th largest state behind Texas. I think it's Texas, Florida, New York, and Georgia. So we have a significant number of Black people that live in our state, even though we are only 6% of the population. I want to take a second one to thank you, InfoMan, for having me on your show today. I also want to lift up ETM Media, and I want to encourage people to go watch the interview that had Isaac Bryant, Marcus Champion, Dr. Cheryl Grills, who's a commissioner, as well as Maureen Simmons, who was an intern who actually talked Dr. Weber into writing AB 3121. I think that interview was fantastic. It also included perspectives from legislator, grassroots organizer, and even an intern to show that we all are needed in this work and in this walk of life. So I want to encourage you all to watch that particular video. I also, to Kim's point, want to encourage you all to send in your recommendations to Reparations Task Force at doj.ca.gov. Again, Reparations Task Force at doj.ca.gov to share your ideas. We went through an array of ideas here. I make sure to show up for public comment. The next hearing will be held in September in Los Angeles. They have not released a date. I encourage people to show up virtually. I also encourage people to show up in person. It's important to look these people in the eye. If you are new and you're just hearing about California's reparations and you want to stay engaged, you can follow me on social media, whether it's Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, at I am Friday Jones. That is where I am on all social medias. You can also follow CJEC, CJEC official. And they constantly keep you updated on what's going on. We have an initiative this week with our, Board of Supervisors here in Los Angeles and their support for HR 40. We want to encourage them to meet with grassroots organizers. So please be there to give your comment at that time. This has really been fun for me. I can talk about this stuff all day. It was a pleasure meeting some new folks in this space. And I just want to thank InfoMan so much for the opportunity.
Well, look, I want to thank all of you. Thank you for being willing to come on with me and discuss this issue. What I want to do is continue these discussions. I think the more we have these discussions on different platforms and promote what's happening is very, very, very important. I imagine this video will get a lot of views after the fact. And the reason why I'm emphasizing that, because I want more and more people to see the video, digest the information, because there's a lot of misinformation going on. And I think that when you have a great collection of great folks like yourself, men and women, we're unified. I think my man, Nappy Yankee is someone I know very well. He talks about it being that we need to unify. Well, I think in a lot of ways we are unified, because this is an example of how we can come together, and reparations is the main thing that we're looking for. Some of us may have different religious beliefs, different political beliefs, different backgrounds, or different ways that we experienced our life growing up, our family structures. But at the same time, we can unify under an issue. Let me give another example here that we can learn. And I know sometimes people don't like to hear these examples, but what I notice about, for example, like Jewish populations and what have you, they can be liberal, they can be Republican, conservative, whatever they are. But when it comes to something that benefits the whole, they put their political views and all that other stuff to the side to gravitate towards what is in the best interest of the whole. And I wish that in general that Black people will start to begin that there is more strength in our large numbers coming together under a single issue that we all will benefit from. Whether you are conservative, rich or poor, you're going to benefit. So why would anybody have anything negative to say? Hell, you'll even have Black people that will tell you, I don't need no reparations. Okay, if I was to get a reparations check, I don't need it. Okay, if you don't need it, how about you take that check and give it to someone who needs it? That's the
back and
right,
give it here.
right. So if you don't need it and you're living that good, you just take the money and give it to people that need it. Hello, the light bulb should turn on in your damn head, right? So, and I think people are a lie when they say that anyway, because if they were to cut a check tomorrow, we would have some of the same Black folks who tell us y'all wasting y'all time. They'll be the first ones trying to fight in line with you. They'll be the first one trying to get. They'll be the first one talking about
and
get
adopt
out the
one
way.
Black child, right? Okay,
Right.
Now you got a check and you got somebody to spend the extra money.
Right. But I agree with Freeman Media, which I'm going to bring them in. I just think that reparations, I think it has to be a combination of not only land, money, and certain tax exemptions, a variety of different things that have been ailing our society, our group as a lineage-based people. Freeman Media, get on in here, man. You out there in Michigan. Me and you used to rock really hard when you were on Haps, before Haps went out of business. You've been on this channel a bunch of time. We've done some videos together. We got to do some more stuff together. I got to get these sisters back on here. There's so many more things to talk about, but you're out there in Michigan. I got to say this to you. I bring up Dr. Claude Anderson.
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Claude Anderson gave us the blueprint a long time ago. And some of us, not all of us, failed to listen to that man. If I'm not mistaken, he went to Detroit and he tried to say, let's create a Black town. You got Chinatown, you got Koreatown, you got all these other towns.
And they ran him out of here.
Right. And it was Black people in the leadership of Detroit who ran Dr. Claude Anderson out of Detroit. And he said, I tried to give him a blueprint. I was ready, but they wasn't ready for it. And they pushed me out. That tells me that sometimes we got the wrong Black people in leadership. When you look at the Do Nothing Caucus up there in Washington, D.C., Clyburn, there's a bunch of them I can name. Off the top of my head.
The Congressional Black Caucasians.
I think we're going to continue to get this is about politics. We're going to continue to get what we get from them, because I think that people don't want to hear this. I think sometimes you do need to have new blood. You got people that's been on that caucus for 30 and 40 years, and they're out of touch with what's going on with society and with Black people today. And they're getting complacent because they know that Black people going to vote for them because, oh, that's who I vote for every year. And then we're getting nowhere.
The new blood understands that with, no offense to anyone, but the new generations understand that the Jewish population plays both sides, and we need to play both sides.
Both sides of the argument and both sides of the equation.
The Democrat Party.
Yeah.
We can't
I just think that we need to start looking at young leadership out here at the grassroots level to begin to replace some of these people who are being brought and sold for. It's not because as long as they are the face of leadership and government at the federal level, you're going to get nothing but stagnantness. And then what they do to black people, which I'm sick of, is they give you symbolism. Oh, we got the first black man this, the first black woman that. Okay, what are they going to do for black folks? Right? Because everybody got excited. Some people got excited about Kamala Harris. And by the way, to black women out there, I'm speaking to you directly. Seems to me that Kamala Harris owes black women a hell of a lot. Where are the policies that are for black women? Because it was black women that were rallying around Joe Biden to get her on the ticket, and black women voted for him at 93%. So y'all need policies that really speak to y'all needs. Specifically, we don't need symbolism. We need actual tangibles to take place. So with that said, I mean, thank you everybody for being here. But Freeman Media, what do you got to say?
My biggest thing is I want to definitely build with people that are looking at reparations and reparations only. I don't really have any time anymore. I don't have the energy for all the foolishness because of what we went through before the 2020 election. I think the path that California is on is the blueprint. Anybody that says otherwise, I always ask, what are you guys doing? Because I know Michigan doesn't have anything that's solid, and anybody that I can point towards what CJEC is working on. And I basically ask them to watch things and then ask them questions in a couple of days. And if they haven't been able to watch it, they're not serious. Because don't ask me about reparations. And then I tell you who's leading the way. And then I give you 48, 72 hours and you come back and you tell me you haven't watched anything. You're not serious. Definitely talking about the new blood. I believe we need to be talking about term limits. Yes. I know that I would love to see term limits start to get talked about. When I found out, this is something that I literally just found out. I had no idea that the Congressional Black Caucus is solely made up of Democrats. I had no idea. I thought both sides of the aisle were a part of the Congressional Black Caucus. I did not know that there's not one conservative. I believe that hurts our cause because one thing that I can say, whether the Republicans are going to do anything or they've done anything for us, that matters not. But we obviously need something different than what the Democrats are giving us. And I believe that the Republicans, everybody says, the Republicans ain't going to give you nothing. Well, if we already know the Democrats aren't going to give us something, the one thing I do know the Republicans want is they want the country to move. They want money moving. And they're about money. The last thing that they want is a whole bunch of crime, a whole bunch of robbing and stealing out here, because that's the first thing that comes up. When something comes up and they look at that last name, they'd love to tag it on an immigrant. They love to tag it on an illegal. They're not going to do that. They're not going to do that for Black Americans. They'd rather give us money so we don't come taking their shit because they can't deport us.
Right. Well, the one thing I do recognize about Republicans that's different from the Democratic Party is that they pretty much do what their constituents want them to do. So whatever their mandate is from the people who follow. So whether you like Donald Trump or not, he was actually following the mandate of the people who put him in office, who wanted. So, for example, people who wanted a wall in California, who wanted that up were the people that got him in office. So he did what their people wanted. The problem with the Democrats is that they tell us what they're going to do for us, and we vote them in office for what we want. And then when they get in office, they give us a bunch of excuses. Well, we were going to do this, but we could not. Well, if we had a majority over here, well, we couldn't. Now look at what the Democrats are getting ready to do. Joe Biden's been in office for 2 years now, whatever it is, and they had what they call some sort of majority or some kind of power in the Senate, and then they were too busy playing olive branch with the Republicans. Now, all of a sudden, they're telling me and you, well, we can't do the things you want us to do because we need a majority. They always wait until a midterm or something comes up to tell us that they can do something for us if we just vote for them one more time. And then they get in office, they don't do anything for us, and it's the same cycle over and over again. I'm sick of it.
Why
But everybody,
fall for it?
I thank you all for being on with me today, coming on the show and educating a lot of great folks. I think people in the chat room love this show today. And we're going to do this again. So I want to thank you again, brother. But Sister Kim, Sister Friday Jones, thank you for being here again, good sister. You might ETM Media Group, thank you for being here again, brother. And Freeman Media, thank you for being here again, brother. We'll talk soon. We got to do something together too, brother.
Yes, sir.
God bless, man.
God bless you all. Thank you again.
Thanks for
Thank
having
you.
us.
Thank you, sister.
Peace.
Thank you. Everybody's been great today. Thank you. So everybody, thank you. I gotta give another clap. A lot of great people. Sister Kim was incredible. Sister Friday Jones was incredible. Freedom Media was incredible. Devin Locker was incredible with his tangible plan that he laid out there for us. Incredible stuff. Ujima ETM Media Group, he was the bomb as well. Give him a clap. Y'all know I'm bad with names. Let me just say this as I get ready to end here and put it where the ghosts can get it. To everybody listening. I don't want anybody to walk away with thinking that this is about hating on other people. Look, we have black people all over the diaspora of the world that are fighting for reparations. We have CARICOM. Let me show you something. Let me show you something real quick here that I want to show you. Put this on the screen like so. So right there is CARICOM, Reparations Commission. This is what's happening in the Caribbean, where you have all these various Caribbean countries that have come together in unison. They've come together in unison to fight for their form of reparations because they were enslaved, as you see on that picture, by Great Britain, the Europeans, the UK. And they have every right to do so. And I, as a black American born here, am not going to tell them, forget about it. Why you worrying about what happened to your ancestors those many years ago? You ain't going to get no money out of the UK. Come on, stop it. Y'all don't deserve no money. Y'all want checks. I'm not going to do any of that goofy stuff that you hear people say to black Americans in this country. I'm not going to talk to African brothers and sisters that way on the continent of Africa who have a reparations plight. Matter of fact, I think it was a year or two ago, you had African countries as well as Caribbean countries that were at the United Nations representing their cause. And you know what was interesting about that, ladies and gentlemen, is that, and I'm just keeping it real, all those other countries that came out of the continent of Africa and all those countries that were there representing the Caribbean, as it was played out, none of them spoke about, well, what about the black Americans? We got to get them included. No, they were talking about what happened to their people on the specific land that they were born on or that they came from. There was nobody there talking about, well, what about the black Americans? As a matter of fact, their leadership showed up to the United Nations. But guess what happened here in the United States? There was nobody in the Biden administration, and I'm keeping it 100% real with you. There was nobody from the Joe Biden administration who showed up for the United Nations conference as it relates to reparations. There was no Vice President Kamala Harris. There was no Joe Biden. There was nobody there to represent. That tells you that they're playing games with us. And what was very evident is that all the other countries of black people, they were there with their leadership and they were talking about their issue. They weren't there saying, hey, so where are the American leadership? No one was saying that they felt bad about it. Nobody was saying, hey, wait a minute, we can't do this without the Americans here to represent too. Because they were singularly focused on what was in the best interest of their people. And guess what? I've got no problem with that. I got no haterism about that. They have every right to do so. So therefore, what we're simply saying is to our brothers and sisters who are either immigrants, come from other parts of the world, that have arrived here, that have been living here, that are working hard, going to school, doing the right thing, I would just say, just have a little humility and respect for what we're trying to do as your people are trying to do something too in the land that you come from. Should we be hating on immigrants? Should we be hating on either one of each other? No, we shouldn't be doing that. We shouldn't be dividing and conquering each other. But however, the reparations issue should not be an issue that makes people feel there's a divide. But as I said earlier in the show, it seems like anytime Black Americans begin to stand up and distinguish ourselves as other groups have distinguished themselves and will tell you at the drop of a dime where they are, who they are, and where they come from. And you'll even have these groups that come over here that will say, hey, well, my family was never a slave, which has nothing to do with what we're talking about as Black Americans. We're talking about people who were slaves. Now, those of us that are living today, we're not actually slaves today. But at the end of the day, there's something called legacy. And our ancestors were the ones who did work this land and never got paid. And so because we are the living descendants of those ancestors, this country owes us something. And let me say this to the mealy-mouthed individuals out there that will say, well, why y'all want to blame white people today? They had nothing to do with what happened those hundreds of years ago. You're right. White society did not, those that are living today, did not enslave our people those hundreds of years ago. But this is the thing. They certainly have benefited from the triangular slave trade and from the slavery that took place in this country. They benefited by way of generational wealth, which afforded them the ability to have stability economically, that they can do anything they want on this planet with, whether it go any school they want to go to, travel where they want to go, to be able to live comfortably, to be able to live without the stress of not having money, to be able to get the best medical care because they got the money to get the best medical care to improve the quality of their life. So certainly they weren't the actual ones who owned slaves, but they are the benefactors of their ancestors enslaving and oppressing my ancestors. And therefore, since they're benefiting, you know what? As I hit the bell, it's time for you to pay up. Because America has a debt that it owes. I want to thank everybody in the chat room for being here. I appreciate everybody being a part of this program today. Let me just simply go in the chat room and shout some folks out. I appreciate a golden melanin. I appreciate Earl Owens. I appreciate Empress Queen Goddess. I appreciate Keith Weston, who's been supporting me heavily, as many of you in the chat room. Appreciate Ivan Fernandez for coming over and being willing to be open to hearing our point of view. He's of another culture, but I'm glad that he was able to come over and understand our point of view. I want to say peace and respect to Panther. If you're new to the channel, subscribe, hit the bell notification. Thank you. Make sure you check out. I had a podcast that went that was a premiere video about Brittany Griner, and for some reason I meant to schedule it for another day, and it went live, I guess, without me being there to greet people, and I want to apologize for that. But I want you all to be on the lookout for what I'm doing on the Information Man Speaks podcast, because I'm dropping podcasts during the week. Maybe every other night, I'm giving you a 16-minute podcast, a short podcast, but getting right to the point. And I think you're going to like the podcast. My next podcast is going to be about Will Smith and his whole apology. So be on the lookout for that. Subscribe to the Information Man Speaks podcast. And also, if you are a person who is a content creator and you wish to improve your channel, what you're doing on your channel, or if you're new at YouTube, or you just want to know what we do to build YouTube channels, check out Info Media Live. Info Media Live is my new channel, and I am going to be dropping a new video over there very soon. I was supposed to do something on Saturday. A lot of things got busy for me on Saturday, but I will be dropping new material for Info Media Live over there very soon. Okay, so check out Info Media Live, subscribe to that channel, hit the bell notification. I appreciate you. Everybody in the chat room, you know how YouTube is. Please share this video in your social media so that more people get an opportunity to watch this video, because I think we dropped a lot of gems today. I see we got my man, the real Aaron Collins, in the house. So I want to say thank you. I'll take 60 people strong in the chat room right now. We had a lot more people here earlier, but as the show is starting to wind down, to still have that many people watching is still a blessing, in my opinion. It's a blessing. Because, I've been on for at least 2 hours and 35 minutes right now. We're about to end it. We got Worldview, who's just come in the house saying exactly thank you. Earl Owens, who's been rocking with me for so long. We got a lady 747. Lady 747. As soon as I end this, you know where I'm going. I'm going right over to Leonard Honored's channel, because I know he's over there talking about you know who. So if he's still live, I'm coming over there right after I end this. But a lady 747 says this: let's be honest. Some immigrants want to make sure they aren't on the bottom by keeping Black Americans down. Well, I think I would agree with you, but I think that's lady 747. I think that's something that all humans do in general. We want to be on top and we want somebody under us, right? I think it's a human trait that you want your people to be in charge. You want your people to be prospered, right? I get it. And you will do it at any cost that you need to. I think it's a human flaw that we have. You see animals do this, even bugs do this. It just seems to be something in the DNA that people are always going to preserve and survive. It's about survival. And if that means knocking off other groups, they'll do so. Let me see. AB is in the house saying, yes, we do. Very positive. Yes. Let me see. We got On the Town with Tanya, who got in contact with me. As you know, she used to be a part of the 5 Black Comics. I think they changed it to Black Therapy. And Tanya's in the house. She got in contact with me, wants to do some work with me, and I appreciate you, sister. On the Town with Tanya's in the house. Check out her channel. We got Postmaster Sergeant saying, I don't include us as FBA in that, and that's okay. All right. All right. Everybody has the right to feel how they feel and rock how they want to rock. We got Jackie in the house who said this: Latinos from Americas should look to Spain for their reparations. No, you are absolutely right, because it was the Spanish that came over here and did horrible things to the native people in a place that we call California, in a place we call the western part of the country. It was the Spaniards that came over here and controlled the western part of America, or what we know as America, and did horrible things to the native people. So that's right. They should actually, in that video that I played earlier in the show, where you had the guys that called themselves the American Chola podcast kept talking about, well, we had some stuff done to us. Well, guess what? You're absolutely right. If you are Mexican American, put all Latino people, you actually have a legitimate claim against Spain, because Spain did horrible things. When Columbus and all those folks came over here, they did horrible things. So you actually have a claim against against Spain. And guess what? I, as a black man in America, would not get involved in telling you about how you shouldn't be trying to get money from Spain for your particular claim. Oh no, I've got no business telling anybody Spanish speaking that they don't have a claim against Spain. You damn sure, Skippy, right, they do have a claim. Let me see here. What do we have here? As I get ready to end this, we've got David Locker, who's come in the house. Check out that brother's content. Matter of fact, have I even subscribed to your show, brother? I feel like let me make sure I have subscribed. I'm going to your channel right now because I want to make sure that I have subscribed. And I probably have. And let me see. I'm waiting for this thing to load up over here. Everything's moving slow right now. Okay, here we go. Oh, yes, I have subscribed. Okay, I'm going to keep your channel up so that I can start looking at videos as I should be looking at videos to get your channel in my algorithm. And that's how it works. Let me see. We got At It Again Media. So good to see you, sister. At It Again Media says, this is the second live where I heard about others being done wrong. The truth of the matter is we were done worse, lynching, and I don't want to use that R word, but the R word. Yep. And taken over. Yes. Correct. Incredible. And then we got my man, Ty Weezy in the house. Make sure y'all check out his channel. Give him love and support. And again, as I said before, be on the lookout for the Info Media Live channel. We'll be dropping new content. I normally drop content on Saturdays. Had some things that came up, but we'll be dropping some content that I've already prepared for you on that channel. And if you have not subscribed to Info Media Live, go over there and do so. Hit the bell notification. And if you have not subscribed to Information Man Speaks podcast, where I'm dropping podcasts during the week, and they're short little podcasts where I load up his premiere videos, I'm telling you, you're going to love the podcasts. You're going to love them. Let me see who else we got in here. Anyway, good folks, I'm going to get on out of here. I'm going to mosey on out of here. Appreciate the love and all the respect that I'm getting from you on this channel. And yeah, that's what it is, folks. So with that said, let me get out of here. And everybody, I want to say peace to you. Peace.
Tell the truth.
East Coast always in me, Commonwealth, Lil Joe, getting love from my city. I roll call for the DMV. In my own lane, you could still ride with me. No one knows I made mistakes. You won't end, but it's too late. I don't need your support, just to know I'm important. And I won't ever sell myself short, cause I know you'll see me on the come up. Big girl with big dreams and big drip. Talk is cheap, but please dare me to run up. I'ma put my money where my mouth is. Talk a good game, I'm my alphabet. Even on my worst days, still an alphabet. Standing next to me, you gotta be an alphabet. 8 ball in your pocket, I'm your alphabet. Alphabet, baby.
Tell the truth.
Never really fit in, always felt like the next I be in my own space of mind, making boss moves in my own time, and I ride my own ride. Find me all alone, I'm on the road. I had to take a couple hits, a couple stones, but targets I don't ever miss. They wanna know it's like to be me. Let me give you this game for free. No, you see me on the come up. Big girl with big dreams and big drip. Talk is cheap, but please dare me to run up. I'ma put my money where my mouth is. Talk a good game, I'm my alphabet.
Information is power.
Even on my worst days, still an alphabet. Standing next to me, you gotta be an sex, I know it's a toss up, but I hate the fact that we lost touch. Hey, the Uber pulling up on call. Tell me, is you trying to fall through? I'ma leave it up to you. What you wanna do? Look, I'm trying to spend this time with you. Know we overdue. What you doing right now? Baby, won't you swing my way? It's been a day and I've been thinking out loud. I know I want you. Long time since the last time. Got a tab, we could run up. Knew you from the way, now we grown up. My look, yeah, made the realest ones nervous. But if you want it, tap in. I think that I know somewhere that we could go to crash land. We could keep the pace on slow jam. Don't leave me on red. Can we go back where we first began? No plans, all we had was the moment.
What's up, brother? Brother Rob, good to see you here. And Natro, thank you for coming over.
We was raised a little different. Used to be ashamed who I was, now I'm paid by the sentence. Taking my time with it. Baby, give me yours, so I could get them butterflies trapped in your rib cage. Let me know we on the same page. Give me with a text, voice note, or an emoji. Waiting all day for your name on the ID. So if you want it, tap in. I think that I know somewhere that we could go to crash land. And we could keep the pace on slow jam. Don't leave me on red. Can we go back where we first began?
You are listening to Information Man. Please make sure to subscribe to his channel.
Tell the truth.